The movie opens with a scene of a supercar flying down the racetrack. Looking at the steering and how the corners are handled, it's enough to know the driver is an expert, and not someone to mess with. Then, the car quickly speeds to the finish line to the cheering of the crowd of extras. That is Chairman Yong Ho, the man holding the powerful Choi Sung Group in his hands. In the business world, they call him the god of business. On the track, they call him the king of speed. Chairman Kang is 72 years old this year and is way too tired of carrying the trillion-dollar corporation on his back. The chairman orders his assistant to call all the heirs together, wanting to hold a meeting to pass down the throne. At the same time, the main character Huang Jun is jogging on the street. This guy is a talented soccer player, but his career is a bit of a flop. Mr. Huang always plays his heart out on the soccer field and scores many goals for his team, but his career is still bumpy and hasn't taken off yet. Today, he signs a contract and joins the Choi Sung team. The male lead hopes this will be a new home for him. The team organizes a commercial photo shoot for him, wanting to launch this powerhouse into the market in the future. On the other side, the chairman has arrived at the corporation. The heirs, though reluctant, also have to line up and wait early. The chairman walks into the corporation, and everyone who sees him bows respectfully. You can see his status in the corporation as one of a kind. The chairman enters the meeting room and sits down. Only after his permission do the board members dare to sit down as well. He starts getting angry at Director Park's incompetence. This quarter's sales for the corporation did not meet the target. The chairman says he is planning to retire, but he's afraid that without him, the corporation steered by this bunch of misfits will definitely be ruined. In the old days, if a king wanted to find a successor, the court officials would step up to advise against it and beg him to keep ruling. But in this corporation, everyone counts the days, waiting for the chairman to step down soon. This is really sad. Finally, the chairman decides to let his twins, Ki-ong and Dae-song, temporarily hold power in the company together for 1 month. He will stay behind to direct and observe the two of them. The fact that the chairman treats his son and daughter equally makes the son unhappy. He questions his father why he didn't pass the throne to him. A married daughter is like spilled water, so why let the daughter have a chance to fight for the inheritance with him? The chairman says to fight fairly, take action, and don't just stay here talking big. Right after that, the corporation is split into two factions. The son's side is planning to win the trust of the shareholders. The daughter is more clever. She wants to play the public opinion card. A press conference takes place, hinting that the group will release energy battery products that are useful for life and the people. After that, her side also buys hot searches and hires internet bots to help make the issue blow up. The chairman tells his assistant that this will be a war with no mercy. The more the two heir factions fight each other, the more free time he has. Rice and husks are mixed together, we have to stir them up to easily find the hidden gem. In the evening, the chairman goes home to have a meal with everyone. Fancy delicacies are brought out, but they aren't enough to fill the mouths of the twins. They constantly argue at the dinner table and bring up business matters to fight over. Everyone wants to score points with their dad and wants to show off that they are the perfect heir. The stepwife, knowing her husband is about to retire, is very upset. In this family, everyone has their own schemes. Being pressured by this scheming group from the company to the dinner table, the chairman has a massive headache. Luckily, the assistant arrived just in time to help him out and pull him away. The stepwife quickly called her daughter Kang-un to come home right away. She was determined not to let the inheritance fall into the hands of her husband's stepchildren. The secretary told the chairman that many scandals had been dug up. It turns out that behind his back, the board of directors weren't as well behaved as they seemed on the outside. The twins snuck in to secretly check the dashcam in the chairman's car. But right at that moment, the chairman happened to head out, which made them panic. The two of them quickly drove away. The chairman knew exactly who stole the car, and it was none other than those two troublemakers. They drove off, both focused on trying to find out what documents the chairman had looked at in the car. Meanwhile, the male lead was buying a birthday cake, wanting to go to the nursing home to celebrate with his forgetful grandma. He accidentally got hit by the two troublemakers' car and tumbled onto the ground. He clutched his leg in pain. As a soccer player, if something's wrong with his leg, his career is pretty much over. The two troublemakers didn't help the victim at all and fled the scene. The male lead was taken to the hospital right after that. The two troublemakers used their connections to pay the police to wipe the security cameras on the road, then sent someone to wash the street to erase all the evidence. These heartless rich people are truly despicable and hateful. Meanwhile, the male lead was still in the operating room. The doctors were trying every second to help save his leg. The next morning, the chairman went to check on the car. His sharp eyes noticed that the headlights had been replaced. The dashcam was also wiped clean. Even though the two troublemakers lied and said they hit a cat, he was sure that wasn't the truth. After the surgery, the male lead woke up and was shocked to find his leg injured. The doctor was sorry to say that even though the surgery was a success, after a torn ligament and a broken leg, the male lead's soccer career is completely over, and God knows how hard he worked for it. He had practiced 18 hours a day, just hoping to shine on the field and make his grandma proud. But a sudden accident made his future burst like a soap bubble. The assistant told Chairman Kang about the slush fund the two troublemakers embezzled, and he had no choice but to help them clean up their mess. Even with the accident, the chairman couldn't let his heirs get into any trouble. The chairman used his cane to open his secret room, which was filled with tons of wealth and secrets that were never revealed. He gave the assistant some assets he had saved for his wife, wanting to set up a backup plan for the stepwife so she could be well off for life, and then he hid the two troublemakers' illegal documents deep in a safe and locked it up. The next morning, Huang Jun started acting out at the hospital. He hasn't accepted the fact that he has to leave the soccer field after the accident. In the following days, Huang Jun was under a lot of financial pressure. When the coach found out about the accident, he turned his back and kicked him off the team, adding to the mental pressure. While the nursing home kept demanding fees for his grandma, the male lead tried to practice to recover as fast as possible. In the morning, the chairman invited a friend to eat at their usual spot. He said he would pass down the throne to whoever makes a big contribution to the corporation. That night, Huang Jun dreamed about the accident again. He started to remember a few numbers on the license plate. Right the next morning, he went to the police to report it, but the cops had already been bribed by the two troublemakers. They told him that the road had a blind spot, and the backup camera nearby was broken just to shut him up. After that, the male lead went to the club to find the coach, wanting to ask for a chance to get back on the team, but they flatly rejected him. He thought that Huang's current condition would only drag down everyone on the team. Huang had to face a massive contract penalty fee of billions of won. He ran to the accident scene and put up banners to look for witnesses of the crash. His injured leg made him look really pathetic. Then, the caregiver called him. The male lead didn't dare face her because he was afraid of being asked for money. But the caregiver said that on the day the accident happened, they were FaceTiming each other, and luckily, she managed to record a full video of the crash. Thanks to the clue provided by the caregiver, the male lead found out the license plate number. He went to an internet cafe and looked up the car owner's information through that. Because of that, he learned the car owner was the powerful chairman of the Choi Sung Group. The next day, the male lead disguised himself as a delivery man. He used that way to get the photos of the accident into Chairman Kang's hands. Right after that, he was brought before him. Chairman Kang was furious after watching the video of the accident caused by the two troublemakers, but on the outside, he still acted calm in front of Huang. Huang wanted an apology for his life, but to Chairman Kang, the best apology was money. The chairman asked Huang how much he wanted, just give him a number. Huang felt insulted, but after looking at his resume, the chairman just shook his head in disappointment. To begin with, his soccer career was already a total flop. Retiring now or retiring at 30 was basically the same thing. Chairman Kang offered to help him pay off the contract penalty and find a job. In exchange, Huang had to shut up and get lost, acting as if nothing had happened. But Huang didn't want to compromise with the capitalists. He wanted to get justice for his life and career that were stolen after that accident. Chairman Choi laughed when he saw him struggling. To him, there's nothing in this world that money can't fix. It's just a matter of the amount not being high enough. Chairman Kang threw a blank check to Huang and said he could fill in whatever amount he wanted. He told him to think it over carefully and then come find him. Chairman Kang was very curious to see how much money Huang would value his life and his passion for the field at. Huang left and bumped into the two troublemakers at the elevator door. Then, the caregiver called him. Grandma was still happy as usual. In her memory now, all that's left is the fact that her grandson is a soccer player. Huang was pressured to choose between having a comfortable life after taking the settlement or trying to chase justice in vain. What's the point of pride at a time like this? How could a little nobody like him stand against the super rich tycoons who can cover the sun with one hand? Finally, Huang decided to write the number he wanted on the blank check. In his office, Chairman Kang was scolding the two troublemakers. They made a total of 3 mistakes. First, skimming the slush fund. Second, forming factions in the company. Third, destroying his beloved car and pinning the blame on him, making him a total laughingstock. Finally, Chairman Kang finished by saying he wouldn't let these two troublemakers take the throne and then walked away. The two troublemakers failed to catch the elevator, so they chose to take the stairs. They kept blaming each other. The chairman was walking on the street, and Huang was also coming to find him. The two troublemakers rushed out from the stairs, wanting to stop their dad. In the middle of the panic, the son somehow pushed his dad down the stairs. Right in front of everyone, Chairman Kang and Huang ended up banging their heads together. Thank God, after the accident, Mr. Kang didn't die. But he accidentally swapped bodies with Huang. The doctors thought that this fake Huang had lost his mind after the accident, so they suggested doing a brain CT scan on him. Mr. Kang quickly ran to find his own body. Before that, Huang had contacted the press and exposed the accident. Because of that, he accidentally saw the true faces of his two children. The two troublemakers were pinning all the blame on their dad. They said Mr. Kang was the culprit of the accident. They tried their best to talk their dad out of it, but he still used money to try and shut the victim up, though it didn't work. Mr. Kang was disappointed because his kids were both useless and incompetent. Now he wanted to clear his name, but even with 10 mouths, it would be useless. Mr. Kang ran like the wind through the crowd and into the patient's room. He wanted to get back into his own body quickly, but the closer he got to the body, the more intense the headache became, draining his strength and making him writhe in pain. Chairman Kang couldn't get near his body. It felt like an invisible wall was blocking him. The heart rate of the old body on the hospital bed started to speed up, and his blood pressure spiked, which terrified the stepwife. She wailed and called the doctors for emergency help. Everyone thought that Huang's appearance made the chairman's health worse. The bodyguards kicked him out. Huang was thrown out like a piece of trash. Right then, he was suddenly grabbed and dragged away by Gyun, the chairman's youngest daughter. She thought he had harmed her father, so she was really rough with him. Chairman Kang, inside Huang's body, was furious because this daughter dared to return to the country without permission and now dared to lay a hand on him. Luckily, the two troublemakers group arrived and saved the fake Huang from the violent youngest daughter. The two troublemakers acted friendly toward Huang, but deep down, they were full of malice and greed. The chairman's secretary asked his subordinates to bring all the surveillance footage to him. He suspected the two troublemakers were the ones behind the hit and run. Goon hid nearby and overheard the secretary's entire conversation. The stepwife discovered that her daughter had snuck back into the country. She was just frustrated that her daughter wasn't living up to her potential. At a heated moment like this, Goon coming back was like jumping straight into a fire pit. The next day, the case of the chairman's hit and run went viral on the hot searches. At the same time, someone denied that rumor with another rumor. They vaguely said that one of the two heirs caused the accident and blamed their father. In the morning, the two troublemakers took a walk and talked. The brother was worried that Huang still had a copy of the video evidence, but the sister said she had already swiped his phone and now she just needed to destroy it to hide their dirty past. The sister also said she wanted to take this chance to ruin Chairman Kang's reputation. Perhaps in his wildest dreams, that poor father never thought the career and reputation he built for years would be destroyed by his own children. The two troublemakers went to find Huang and sweetly said their father was the one who hit him. As his children, they could only help him fix the mess. The fake Huang was livid at his children's shameless attitude. He stood up and gave them a piece of his mind. The aura and pressure of a brilliant tycoon were enough to make the two useless troublemakers tremble in fear. In this world, they were only intimidated by two people, their father, and now, Huang. Public opinion started to boil over regarding Chairman Kang's case. They thought the hit and run was irresponsible. On top of that, Mr. Kang used his power and money to erase all evidence. The peak of the outrage was when he used money to force the victim to shut up, making the public even more furious. People came to the hospital gates to protest. Many reporters and journalists came looking for news. And the sister cut all ties. She told reporters in an interview that all the bad things they did before were forced by Chairman Kang. The brother was shocked by his sister's bold move. He was afraid that if their dad woke up, he would definitely skin them alive. The sister confidently said, "Then let's make sure Chairman Kang never wakes up." They planned to eliminate Chairman Kang and silence his personal assistant. That evening, Huang was locked in a private villa. Taking advantage of the loose security, he used some pillows and blankets to fake that he was asleep. Since Chairman Kang designed this villa himself, he easily found a secret exit. Huang caught a taxi to the hospital. He was overwhelmed by the scale of the public protest. He was the main character everyone was spitting on. Now his honor and character were being insulted. Along with that, his entire business empire was on the verge of bankruptcy. Chairman Kang didn't want that. If he had to watch his life as work be destroyed, he'd rather die. But now, he couldn't clear his name in Huang's body. The next morning, the two troublemakers held a shareholders meeting, wanting to use the scandal to kick Chairman Kang out of his seat. Right then, someone announced that Huang was holding a press conference. The brother was scared the truth would come out, so he rushed there. When everyone was present, Huang started to announce the identity of the person who hit him. It was Chairman Kang. But to save the corporation he worked so hard for, Chairman Kang could only smear his own name. He remembered how many difficulties and insults he faced when he first took over. He had used his own ability to build his current status, making Choi Sung Group one of the top 10 strongest corporations in the world. Chairman Kang could sacrifice himself, but the corporation could not go bankrupt. The two troublemakers started their act, promising to make up for their father's mistake by taking good care of Huang for the rest of his life. Chairman Kang told himself he would definitely make these ungrateful children pay. After that, he left the hall, and the secretary found Gun. She told the secretary not to let her siblings know she was back. That evening, Huang followed the address on his ID card and went home. After a while, he found his rundown house. Inside the tiny house, there were trophies and medals everywhere, showing that Huang's passion for soccer was huge. The motto Huang always remembered was to be successful to make his grandma happy. Huang was scared half to death by a cockroach. He felt like he couldn't stand this miserable life in this shack with rodents anymore. He bolted out of the house at lightning speed. For the first time, he felt the agility and health of his young feet, and he got addicted to the feeling of youth. Huang decided to go to the hospital to get his power cane back. He didn't know that meanwhile, his daughter, son-in-law, and son were planning to kill him. The son-in-law, who was a doctor, brought medicine into the chairman's room. He made an excuse for the stepwife to rest and sent her home. Huang arrived at the hospital when it was quiet, and easily got the cane. Then the two troublemakers snuck into the room. Huang quickly hid. The two troublemakers wanted to give Chairman Kang a lethal injection. But right then, Chairman Kang opened his eyes, scaring the two troublemakers out of their wits. The sister instinctively grabbed a pillow to smother her father to death, and the brother, though scared, joined in to help his sister. Huang, on the bed, was being choked. As he was about to kick the bucket, he tried to push himself. Huang managed to hit the alarm button. The two troublemakers were terrified by the alarm, so they quickly stopped and got out of there. Huang tried to wake Chairman Kang up, but it didn't work. Finally, he had to leave the room first. To avoid suspicion and unnecessary trouble, the whole hospital was a mess, and everyone was rushing to evacuate. Gun arrived at the hospital and was worried sick when she saw that. Instinctively, she rushed in to find her dad. Huang left the hospital like a zombie. Having to go through a near-death experience at the hands of the two children he loved most left him in total shock and deeply disappointed. This was probably the worst experience of his life. Chairman Kang was given emergency care by the doctors, but the long lack of oxygen caused severe brain damage. The doctors told the family to be prepared because Chairman Kang could pass away at any moment. The stepwife fainted when she heard that. The risk of her husband dying before he could make a will for the assets was such a big shock that she couldn't get back up. The news that Chairman Kang was about to kick the bucket was reported to his rivals by a woman in a white suit. Everyone gloated over the tragic end of the business god of war. Late at night, Huang was still wandering the streets alone. He felt regret because he was about to indirectly harm someone's life. Chairman Kang remembered a young man like the original Huang, someone full of energy and a genuine passion for soccer. Huang once said his passion for the field was bigger than Chairman Kang's love for the Choi Sung Group, so Huang didn't write the amount he wanted on the check. He hoped Chairman Kang could give him Choi Sung as compensation. Chairman Kang felt very guilty toward Huang. He knew he needed to do something. The next day, Huang went to the Choi Sung Group wanting to join as an intern. What he did made the two troublemakers very happy. They wanted to spread this news to get attention and score points with the public. Chairman Kang's secretary was very surprised when Huang chose to join the corporation. While talking, Huang said a few phrases that Chairman Kang used to say. That made the secretary remember his boss. Huang said he would protect the Choi Sung Group on behalf of Chairman Kang. Hearing that statement, the secretary just thought this guy was way too ambitious. Huang was assigned to the same department where Gun was interning. Since he was a backdoor intern, everyone decided to treat him with favor. But since he was used to being a high and mighty chairman, he had an occupational habit. As soon as he arrived, he demanded the department manager submit a report on the upcoming plans. Seeing the manager getting heated because of him, Gun quickly dragged Huang outside. She reminded Huang that since he was an intern, he should act like an intern and stop trying to play the role of a dominant CEO. Then, Gun discovered that Huang didn't know how to use Excel. She didn't understand how someone as unskilled as him could pass the interview and get a job in this corporation. Being judged by his daughter, he got sulky. He brought up the fact that Gun was the chairman's daughter, which scared Gun into quickly shutting him up. She warned that if Huang kept talking nonsense about her, he should watch out because her fist has no eyes. Huang was surprised by her feisty attitude. It turns out this youngest daughter used to pretend to be obedient and gentle in front of Chairman Kang. Gun said she had seen Huang at the hospital. She suspected he was the culprit who harmed her dad, but she just didn't have the evidence to charge him. After that, Huang went to find the department manager to ask about Gun. His vibe was even more like a boss than his own boss. The manager said Gun was a very energetic intern at work. Toward her colleagues, she was always enthusiastic to help. Everyone called her by the title errand warrior. Whatever her colleagues asked for, she could finish it perfectly. Even when drinking with partners, Gun never made her boss lose face or upset the partners. In short, in everyone's eyes, Gun was a perfect 10 with no flaws. But seeing his precious daughter being treated like a servant made him very uncomfortable, so he gave the manager a piece of his mind. Because of the power behind Huang, the manager didn't dare to talk back. When everyone left work, Huang stayed for overtime. He said he needed to relearn Excel because he didn't want to keep getting scolded by Gun. Once no one was around, Huang's fingers flew across the keyboard. He logged into Chairman Kang's account and backed up all the necessary documents. Then, Huang walked proudly to the 30th floor and entered Chairman Kang's office. He used the power cane to open the secret room door. Next, Huang took a large amount of gold and cash. Meanwhile, Gun was out drinking with her colleagues. She saw a few male colleagues sneak out to smoke. Gyun proactively approached them, pretending she wanted to help them buy cigarettes, but she was actually ambushing them. She eavesdropped on their conversation and then recorded the suspicious names from their talk. After getting the money, Huang started living the high life. He went to a 5-star hotel and rented a presidential suite, then started bathing, resting, doing what he liked, and buying the luxury brands he loved. He felt this body had a pretty good face. Now, with just a little dressing up, he had instant boss vibes. Then Huang went to the hospital to watch the nurses. Very quickly, he targeted a nurse whose face clearly said, "I'm hungry for money," and used a large sum to bribe her into selling him information about Chairman Kang's current health. The nurse told him that Chairman Kang was now brain dead, but he had woken up once before. Huang asked the nurse to deliver a letter directly to Chairman Kang's secretary, saying that when the chairman woke up, he had asked her to give it to him. No one knew what was written in it, but the secretary was deeply shocked after reading it. The next morning, the company had a presentation. Gun and Huang were the two speakers. Huang grabbed the mic and cut her off. He demanded that the board of directors cancel 3 phantom projects named Yuli, Ib, and Hoen. Hearing this, the brother Ki-ong got spooked because he had a guilty conscience. He rushed away immediately. Gun was totally shocked by his statement. She didn't understand how Huang knew so many of the company's secrets. She kept pestering him with questions. Finally, Huang told her that the two troublemakers had embezzled a slush fund of up to 300 billion won. The shareholders' meeting took place again. The brother told the sister that the youngest daughter Gyun had returned. Then the secretary announced the letter written by Chairman Kang when he woke up. He declared the removal of inheritance rights. This meant that in the future, anyone with the ability could run for the position of chairman. The two troublemakers didn't believe the authenticity of the letter, but the assistant brought out a signature verification report provided by 3 famous national organizations. The secretary said he would temporarily take over the chairman's power until a suitable replacement was found. Right then, Huang appeared and said he also wanted to run for the chairman position. Chairman Kang knew his 2 children were bottomlessly greedy. Whatever he could give them, he would slowly take it all back. Just wait for your father's wrath, you 2 ungrateful troublemakers. Jun Hyun's sudden appearance at the shareholders' meeting caught everyone completely off guard. The room erupted, but not with applause. The shareholders actually laughed in his face. To them, A guy with his lowly status dreaming of becoming the chairman was like trying to reach for the stars. It was physically impossible. Jae-sung lost his cool, grabbing Jun Hyun by the collar and demanding to know how he dared to show his face there. But Jun Hyun stayed ice cold and calm. He played it off perfectly, claiming he didn't know anything. He suggested that his impulsive behavior earlier was probably just a lingering side effect of his accident. Jae-sung was done with him. He wanted Jun Haeon kicked out of the conglomerate immediately. He didn't want a ticking time bomb like Jun Haeon hanging around. However, Jun Haeon had an ace up his sleeve. He warned that if he were fired, the Choisung Group's reputation would go into a freefall for bullying an innocent man. He basically threw it in Jae-sung's face. You wouldn't want your dirty laundry aired out for the world to see, would you? Meanwhile, the family drama was heating up. Jae-gyong tracked down Jewel, trying to bully her into quitting the company. It turns out, when money is on the line, sisterly love is basically non-existent. Jewel tried to play the harmless card, acting like she was easily satisfied. She told her sister she'd be more than grateful just to stay at the company as a low-level, idle intern. But her big sister is a total snake and wasn't falling for the act. She demanded Jewel prove her loyalty by signing over her prime real estate and building assets her father had gifted her. Jewel didn't want to let go of them, but Jae-gyong and Jae-sung squeezed her so hard she eventually had to cave. She was forced to put her fingerprint on a document, voluntarily surrendering her inheritance to her siblings. Jae-gyong then revealed her true motive: revenge against her father and stepmother. She dropped a bombshell, claiming that shortly after her own mother died, her father and the housekeeper, Jewel's mom, got together and had Jewel. She'd bet anything they were having an affair long before her mother even passed away. After that intense showdown, Jewel called her mother to tell her she got to keep her job. Her mom was over the moon, genuinely believing her husband's other children were being kind. She has no idea that if she found out her daughter just traded millions of dollars in assets for a basic internship, she would absolutely lose her mind. Jun Haeon, meanwhile, was suspicious of Jewel's real motives. He started secretly tailing her, and noticed she was using her time running errands for the staff to actually investigate the twins. He watched as she bribed a cleaning lady named Seon-hee with a nice meal just to dig up intel about the renovations in the chemical room. And she didn't stop there. After work, Jewel intentionally approached the chairman's driver to get the scoop on their travel schedule. At this point, Jun Hyun was 100% certain Jewel didn't return to the company for a paycheck. She had a mission. That night, Jun Hyun snuck back into the chairman's office and swiped a massive stash of foreign currency and gold. Just as he was finishing, he heard a noise outside. He moved cautiously to check it out, but suddenly, Jewel ambushed him and pinned him down from behind. She called him out, labeling him a calculating thief, and tried to call the police. The two of them scrambled and struggled until Jun Hyun realized they couldn't stay there. He suggested they move somewhere private and safe to talk, so they headed up to the building's rooftop. Jewel snatched Jun Hyun's bag and dumped it out, revealing a fortune that most people couldn't spend in a lifetime. With the evidence right in front of her, she told him he couldn't talk his way out of this one. But Jun Hyun finally came clean. He told Gaeol he was doing all of this on Kang's orders. He needed the money to act as bait to lure the twins into a trap. He dropped another truth bomb. The twins were the ones who caused his accident and ruined his career, not Kang. Jewel was furious, demanding to know why, if her father was innocent, Jun Haeon didn't just stand up and testify for him. Jun Haeon just looked at her like she was a naive child. He told her that if things were that simple, they would have been solved a long time ago. The company was full of hidden factions and scandals. They couldn't afford to poke the nest and alert the enemy yet. In his eyes, Jewel was just being way too reckless. Jun Haeon sees right through Jewel. He realizes she's trying to prove her worth to her father, showing him that she's elite enough to fight for the chairman's seat and the family fortune. Even though the two of them don't exactly see eye to eye yet, Jun Hyun suggests that they are the perfect pair to cooperate. After all, the enemy of your enemy is your friend, right? They both have one goal: to bring down the twins. So why not join forces and reach that goal even faster? Jewel weighs her options. She thinks about her father, who is currently in a vegetative state, and her mother, who is far too soft and submissive for her own good. To protect her loved ones from the twins' poisonous schemes, Jewel knows she has to take action. That very night, she packs her bags and moves back into the family mansion. It's been 10 long years since she last set foot in that house. Her sudden arrival shocks everyone, but it was a genius move to move back in without even asking for permission. Inside, the atmosphere is toxic. The twins' two families are enjoying a lavish dinner, while Gul's mother, Seon-hee, isn't even allowed at the table. Instead, she's stuck in the kitchen, slaving away over the stove like a servant to feed them. They mock her, saying that even though she was just a housekeeper who managed to climb into the father's bed, low-class people like her will always be trash. It breaks Gail's heart to see her mother being bullied in her own home, but she's forced to just stand there and watch, unable to fight back. She has never hated herself more than in this moment, hating her own weakness and her inability to protect the people she loves. Meanwhile, the news that anyone can now run for the position of chairman sends shockwaves across the entire country. Since the chairman is incapacitated, Secretary Lee is the one temporarily managing the conglomerate. He vows to protect that seat with his life, holding the line until Kang finally wakes up. The next day, Jun Haeon heads to work as usual and runs into Jewel in the elevator. She keeps it real with him, admitting she doesn't fully trust him yet and that she'll be keeping a very close eye on his behavior. They spot Jae-sung nearby, acting all buddy-buddy and shaking hands with a business partner. Jun Haeon notes that the muddy waters of this company are starting to get stirred up. When they get to the office, their colleagues are already there, being worked to the bone as usual. Jun Haeon, acting more like a CEO than an intern, aggressively hops on the phone and starts chewing out the sales department, accusing them of dragging down his team's progress. Watching him, you'd think he was the boss, not some new hire. His department manager is actually terrified by his boldness and quickly pulls Jun Hyun into a private office to scold him. He's like, "Good grief, man. Why are you trying to shoulder the responsibilities of a leader when you're only getting paid an intern's salary?" Just as the manager is catching his breath, the sales team leader bursts in. This guy has a massive ego and immediately starts trash-talking everyone in the department, from the staff to the leadership. Little did he know, the department manager heard every word. Caught red-handed, the sales leader starts shaking in his boots. The manager then looks over a plan Jun Hyun drew up and thinks it's actually quite brilliant. He takes the proposal to the director, but to his surprise, the director absolutely hates it. Why? Because the director realized that if they followed this plan, there would be no room for him to pocket any under-the-table money or kickbacks. Jun Hyun doesn't back down. He corners the director and pressures him to approve the plan. He drops a subtle hint that he has the chairman's backing. The director, who clearly has a guilty conscience and fears Jun Hyun might dig up his dirty secrets, has no choice but to cave in and sign off on it just to get Jun Hyun off his back. Later, Jeol mentions that their department manager is actually a very talented man. Apparently, he used to be a director himself, but after being framed and demoted to a manager, he lost his nerve and became timid. Then, the drama takes another turn. Jeol receives a frantic phone call. Her grandmother has gone missing. They search the entire nursing home from top to bottom, but there is absolutely no sign of her. The plot thickens when the caregiver calls Jun Hyun, suggesting that his grandmother might have snuck off to visit him. She tells him to head to the bus station immediately to pick her up, but Jun Hyun reacts with total indifference. Why? Because inside that body, the soul actually belongs to Chairman Kang, and he has no emotional connection to this woman. His department manager is absolutely livid at how cold-blooded Jun Hyun is toward his own flesh and blood. He literally orders Jun Hyun to leave and go get his grandmother. Left with no choice, Jun Hyun heads out to hail a cab, but he has the worst luck with taxis. Seeing him struggle, Jeol pulls up in her car and offers him a lift. At first, Jun Hyun tries to play it cool and refuses, but eventually, he has to swallow his pride and hop in. Meanwhile, Jae-sung is meeting with his associates, and they are spooked. They sense a major shift is coming. It seems like Chairman Kang made arrangements long ago, so even though he is currently in a vegetative state in a hospital bed, he is still somehow pulling the strings of the entire conglomerate from behind the scenes. On another front, Jae-sung's wife is meeting with her father, Chairman Na of the Taeha Group. These two are plotting a full-scale hostile takeover of the Choi-sung Group. The wife plays it sweet, encouraging Jae-sung that he absolutely must snatch the company away from his older sister. She promises that she and her family's massive corporation will be the backbone supporting his rise to power. But Jae-gyung isn't stupid. She's been having her brother followed, and she knows exactly what his in-laws are up to. Not one to be outdone, she drags her own husband, a doctor, into the power struggle. Since he is a physician, he literally holds the power of life and death over their father. Jae-gyung is smugly confident that she can manipulate whether the chairman lives or dies to suit her needs. Back at the bus station, Jun Hyun and Gyul are searching everywhere, but there's no sign of the grandmother. The biggest problem? Jun Hyun doesn't even know what she looks like, and doesn't even have a photo of her. Luckily, a young man eventually brings her over. The poor woman is suffering from dementia and can't even recognize her own grandson's face. Recalling what the caregiver told him, Jun Hyun actually pays the young man for the sweaty tracksuit he's wearing. He has to fight the urge to gag as he puts on the stinking shirt, but it works the moment the grandmother sees the clothes. She recognizes him as her grandson. Despite her affection, Jun Hyun is visibly uncomfortable and resists her attempts to be close. He eventually takes her to the hospital, and Jeol takes the opportunity to visit her own father. Jun Hyun has already secretly installed surveillance cameras in Chairman Kang's hospital room. He hands a thick envelope of cash to a nurse, bribing her to keep a very close eye on both Kang and his grandmother. The next morning, the department manager's team is geared up and ready for action. Their mission, a surprise audit of the warehouse inventory. But when they arrive, a squad of thugs is there to block them. When talking fails, a massive brawl breaks out. Part of the team stays back to hold off the goons while 4 others sneak inside to perform the check. One of the thugs manages to break free and calls Director Song to warn him. However, Jun Hyun and Jeol are already 2 steps ahead, lying in wait. As soon as Director Song flees the scene, they tail him. They discover his destination is the private residence of Chairman Na. This confirms the conspiracy. Jae-sung's father-in-law is using him to dismantle the Choi-seung Group from the inside. Jun Hyun decides it's time to close the net. They've successfully reclaimed the 300 billion won that Jae-sung embezzled, along with interest. The duo continues to shadow Song. Meanwhile, Jae-sung is sweating bullets. He soon discovers that Song has vanished into thin air, and the 300 billion won he just embezzled has evaporated along with him. Jae-sung goes into a blind rage, ordering his men to catch Song at any cost. When Jae-gyung hears that Song has fled, she's convinced that Chairman Na is the mastermind behind the disappearance. She mocks her naive brother for being a puppet for his wife and father-in-law without even realizing it. She's thrilled to see him in trouble and plans to use this disaster to finally take him down. As for Song, he makes it to a secret meeting point to hand over money to his wife and child. He tells them to head straight for the port and escape the country first, while he deals with the fallout. Just when Director Song thinks he's home free, a car swerves in and blocks his path. Meanwhile, Chairman Na is feeling like he just won the lottery. He's ecstatic because he thinks he just pocketed 300 billion won, about $225 million, in dirty money through a digital wallet. Having the password and access to that kind of cash has him grinning ear to ear. But Na is a stone-cold snake. He's already planning to pull up the roots and eliminate Song to make sure there are zero witnesses left behind. But here's the twist. The person who actually intercepted Song was Jun Hyun. He demands the digital code for the 300 billion. At first, Song acts tough and refuses, but Jun Hyun gives him a literal reality check. He shows Song that the suitcase of payment Chairman Na gave him was actually rigged with a bomb. If it wasn't for Jun Hyun, Song would have been blown to pieces. Even Jun Hyun is shocked that Chairman Na would go that far. He decides to give Song a stack of cash so he can disappear with his family and start over. In exchange, Jun Hyun walks away with the digital code for the full 300 billion won. Watching all of this go down, Jewel is absolutely terrified. She can believe how cruel people can be when that much money is on the line. However, seeing Jun Hyun's god-tier skills in action finally wins Jewel over. She officially agrees to team up with him. Jun Hyun tells her they have to work together to help the real Kang take the conglomerate back from the twins. Meanwhile, back at the villainess lair, Chairman Na realizes he's been locked out of the digital account. He is absolutely fuming. His assistant reports that they couldn't find Song's body at the crash site, but they've already cleaned up the scene so there won't be any legal trouble. Na orders his men to find out who is really pulling Song's strings. His daughter, Jae-sung's wife, says she'll investigate her husband. But Chairman Na warns her not to be naive. Jae-sung is still Kang's son. He might be the one manipulating everyone from the shadows. He's not as simple as he looks. The next day at the office, it is business as usual. The director comes in to praise the department for their hard work and asks where Jun Hyun is. Since he has nowhere to be found, the manager has to cover for him, lying and saying he is just in the restroom. The director announces he's taking everyone out for a celebratory dinner as a reward. Cut to Jun Hyun. He's actually taking a personal day, relaxing in a hotel bathtub. The manager calls him and insists he shows up because the director wants everyone there. Jun Hyun reluctantly drags himself to the party. But the director is a total cheapskate. He claims he's treating everyone to a feast, but then complains about the prices. He forces everyone to order cheap pork instead of the high-quality, expensive beef they actually wanted. During the meal, the director starts treating Jewel like a servant, making her pour drinks and act as the mood maker for the group. Jewel is used to being the office errand girl, so she doesn't complain, but Jun Hyun is secretly heartbroken. Remember, the soul of Chairman Kang is inside Jun Hyun's body. He's watching his youngest daughter, the one he cherished and never even raised his voice at, being bullied by some low-level corporate hack. Fuming with dad rage, Jun Hyun decides to challenge the two-faced director. He bets the director that he can outdrink him. Here are the stakes. If Jun Hyun loses, the team has to keep partying with the director. But if the director loses, these forced company dinners are banned forever. Instead of wasting money on team building, the boss has to give the employees cold, hard cash as a bonus. Now, you have to remember Chairman Kang is a legendary drinker. In his world, the person who can outdrink him hasn't even been born yet. The director stands no chance. Round after round, the director gets absolutely hammered, while Jun Hyun is still stone cold sober. By the end of the night, the director is wasted, and Jun Hyun has officially won the bet. Everyone on the team was buzzing with relief. Thanks to Jun Hyun's legendary drinking skills, they finally escaped what would have been a night of psychological torture by their boss. The kind-hearted Jewel couldn't bear the thought of leaving their manager, Mr. Park, passed out drunk on the side of the road. She offered to take him home, but Jun Hyun stepped in and insisted on doing it himself. After all, it wouldn't look right for a young woman to be hauling a drunk man around late at night. The next morning, Mr. Park woke up in a luxurious presidential suite, feeling like a total fish out of water. He had never experienced the high life like this before. He was shocked to see Jun Hyun there and immediately started lecturing him. Park assumed Jun Hyun was blowing through the compensation money he received from Chairman Kang on flashy hotel rooms. He warned Jun Hyun that life is long and he should be saving for retirement instead of partying like a rock star. In an act of generosity, Park even invited Jun Hyun to move into his humble apartment so they could split the rent. That's when Jun Hyun looked him dead in the eye and told a massive lie without blinking. He claimed he was actually Chairman Kang's secret youngest son, a child kept hidden in the shadows for protection. He told Park he had returned to the company specifically to find the people who betrayed his father. Jun Hyun then brought up a painful memory from Park's past, an old case where the twins had committed a crime and made Park the fall guy. He revealed that Kang knew Park was innocent and felt terrible about it, but had to protect his own children, so he let Park take the hit. Jun Hyun claimed he was there on his father's behalf to finally make things right and take care of Park. In exchange, he needed Park to be his inside man to help take down the twins. Before Park knew it, Jun Hyun had him decked out from head to toe in high-end designer labels. He even let Park drive a supercar to drop him off at work. Suddenly, in Park's eyes, Jun Hyun wasn't just an intern anymore, he had the golden aura of a billionaire. When they arrived at the office, Park jumped out of the car to open the door for Jun Hyun like a loyal chauffeur. Jil saw this suck-up behavior and was furious. She ran over and scolded Jun Hyun, demanding to know how he dared to treat a department manager like a servant. Park almost blurted out the secret son story right then and there, but Jun Hyun managed to shut him up just in time. Meanwhile, things were getting heated elsewhere. The police had opened an investigation into Director Song's accident and showed up at the office to question Jae-sung. The moment Jill saw the twins, she bolted, remembering her promise to stay out of their sight just so she could keep her internship. Jae-sung was visibly rattled during the interrogation. You could tell he had a guilty conscience because he looked incredibly suspicious. To make matters worse, Secretary Lee called an emergency board meeting because of Song's sudden disappearance. The shareholders were breathing down Jae-sung's neck, demanding answers. He tried to lie and say Song had resigned voluntarily, but his sister, Jae-young, wasn't about to let him off the hook. She publicly exposed him, revealing that Jae-sung had actually fired Song. Being humiliated by his sister in front of the board made Jae-sung's blood boil. He hated Director Song now more than ever. Jae-young then played her ace card, a massive new seaport project. Jae-sung knew exactly what she was doing. It was just a front for her to embezzle company funds. When a furious Jae-sung returned to his office, his wife was already waiting for him. She was there on orders from her father, Chairman Na, to spy on him and find out if Jae-sung was the one secretly manipulating Director Song. Jun Hyun, meanwhile, was busy analyzing the details of this upcoming seaport project. He knew it was a gold mine and that neither of the twins would be able to resist such a juicy piece of bait. His plan was simple. Use this project to drive a wedge between the siblings and make them tear each other apart from the inside. He took his first move by approaching Jae-young, offering to team up with her. He promised to help her officially take down her brother once and for all. To get the ball rolling, the two of them headed out to a cafe to meet with the provincial governor's secretary. Since the city's mayoral election was just around the corner, everyone was walking on eggshells. The governor's secretary was being incredibly cautious, double-checking the identities of Junhyun and Gil before even letting them speak. See, elections are expensive, and the governor was looking for some grease to keep his political machine running smoothly. The secretary told them to pitch their solution. If it looked good and the sincerity was right, they'd have a deal. Gil stepped up and recommended that the governor let Jae-young handle the seaport project. She argued that since the Chosun group was about to go all in on the port, partnering with them was the only logical move. Jun Haeon chimed in, promising that the governor wouldn't regret it. He framed it as a win-win-win. They'd solve the coal pollution issue, create jobs for the unemployed locals, and make everyone look like heroes. Then Jun Hyun went into full attack mode. He used a high-pressure psychological tactic, talking fast, firing off rapid questions, interrupting her, and throwing out a fake take-it-or-leave-it ultimatum. He didn't give the secretary a single second to breathe or ask a counter-question. He completely overwhelmed her with his pace, and before she knew it, she was nodding along with his plan. He handed her a contract to show the governor, leaving Gil in absolute awe of his confidence and poise. No matter how dangerous the situation, Jun Hyun always stayed ice-cold. Meanwhile, a new conspiracy was brewing. Jae-sung's wife reported back to her father, Chairman Na, confirming that Jae-sung wasn't the mastermind behind Director Song. They decided right then and there to pin everything on the sister, Jae-young. Their goal? To completely shatter the bond between the twins and let them destroy each other. That evening at the mansion, Gil's mother, Seon-hee, was being worked to the bone. Even Jae-young's young son was acting like a total brat, treating his step-grandmother like a servant and demanding she get him food. When Jae-sung's wife finally got home, she announced that Jae-sung was out meeting a friend. When poor Seon-hee finally tried to sit down for a bite to eat, Jae-young barked at her to go back to the kitchen and cook some hangover soup for her brother instead. Even when Jae-young's husband tried to stand up for her, Jae-young snapped, saying that sitting at the same table as a mistress like Seon-hee made her sick to her stomach. While his wife was being bullied at home, Jae-sung and Chairman Na were out whining and dining the provincial governor. Their goal was simple. They wanted Jae-sung to get the gang on port project. After a night of heavy drinking and fake smiles, the group headed out. Mr. Park, lurking in the shadows, caught the perfect money shot on his camera. The governor's wife stashing a heavy suitcase, clearly a massive bribe, into the trunk of their car. Park immediately called Jun Haeon to brag about his successful mission. Jun Haeon, meanwhile, was playing the gentleman. He didn't feel right letting Gil go home alone, so he drove her all the way to the mansion. When they arrived, Seon-hee rushed out to meet them. Seeing her, the soul of Kang inside Jun Hyun nearly broke. His heart ached seeing how thin and exhausted his wife had become. He realized that in that entire house of snakes, she was the only one who truly loved him. Seon-hee was a mess. She refused to believe her husband was a hit-and-run criminal. Seeing her mother break down in front of a colleague, Jewel had to step in and comfort her. Seon-hee, feeling embarrassed, apologized to Jun Hyun and headed inside. When Jewel walked into the house, she was greeted by a mountain of dirty dishes and a messy table left by the rest of the family. Seon-hee tried to go back to work to cook for her daughter, but Jill forced her to rest. She had ordered takeout instead. The two of them shared a rare, peaceful moment over some food and beer, a small rebellion against the toxic household. After tucking her mother into bed, Gil started cleaning the house, scrubbing every dish until it sparkled. She looked at the incredibly complex daily menus the family demanded on the kitchen shelf and let out a long, heavy sigh. Being a servant in your own home was a nightmare she was determined to end. The next morning, Seon-hee woke up to find her daughter, Gul, already back from a massive shopping spree with bags of food. As the two families of the twins rolled out of bed, they immediately started barking orders for breakfast. Gel took over the plating while Seon-hee served them like a waitress. The spoiled heirs were actually satisfied for once, because the food was so good. While they ate, Seon-hee and Jewel had their own little celebration in the kitchen. Meanwhile, Park showed up to see Jun Haeon. Now that Park had a little cash in his pocket, he was flexing hard, but his fashion sense was so gaudy it was a total eyesore for Jun Hyun. Still, Jun Haeon used his silver tongue to shower Park with praise, promising him that his hard work wouldn't go unnoticed and that he'd be a key player in the future. He then handed Park a new mission: dig up every cent Jae-sung had funneled into the governor's election campaign. He even handed Park a suitcase full of cash as a thank you fee. Motivated by the money, Park pulled an all-nighter and delivered the goods the very next day. Jun Haeon immediately took that evidence to Jae-gyong. True to her snake-like nature, the moment she had the info, she tried to kick the latter away. She ordered Jun Haeon to be fired on the spot. But before the order could even go through, the governor's secretary walked in. She announced that the governor was officially teaming up with Jae-gyong. Jae-gyong was ecstatic. Victory was within her grasp. But then, Jun Hyun flipped the script. He started screaming at the secretary, acting like she was insulting Jae-gyong with her terms. He threw out a list of impossible demands, acting so arrogant and rude that the secretary eventually lost her cool. She felt like Jun Hyun was wasting her precious time and stormed out. Jae-gyong was ready to murder Jun Hyun for sabotaging the deal, but he just looked at her calmly and said, "We won." Right on cue, the TV news broke. The governor was resigning. It turns out, Jun Hyun had leaked the bribery photos, and Jewel had called the governor directly, threatening him until he quit. When Jae-sung heard that his investment had betrayed him, he lost his mind. He called the governor, only to find out someone had been pulling the strings from the middle. Then, he got the news that Jae-gyong had officially snagged the Seaport project. He stormed into the press conference and publicly accused his sister of being a thief. "No matter how much you want the chairman's seat," he yelled, "you can just steal from your own brother." Secretary Lee voiced his concerns too, worried that Jae-gyong was spread too thin with so many roles. Jae-sung agreed, but Jae-gyong smugly declared that she was the only one elite enough to handle such a massive project. Ultimately, Secretary Lee had no choice but to give her the green light since Jae-sung's political power had just gone up in smoke. Jae-sung wouldn't let it go, chasing his sister down and hounding her in front of the partners. Not wanting a scene, Jae-gyong had her security restrain her brother while she walked away with the investors. Seeing the siblings finally tear each other apart, Jun Hyun and Jaeil shared a victory toast. But they weren't alone. Secretary Lee's spies caught the whole thing on camera. Lee realized these two were the masterminds behind the chaos. He also discovered that Jun Hyun was living in the presidential suite specifically reserved for Chairman Kang. Now that Jae-gyong saw how useful Jun Hyun was, she did a total 180. She tried to recruit him to her inner circle. Jun Hyun played along, agreeing on one condition: she had to return the property deeds she had stolen from Jewel. That night, Jun Hyun took Jewel to a 5-star hotel for a lavish dinner and handed her the deeds. Jewel was stunned. She was deeply moved by how much he had done for her. He had already cleared the path for her. That land was slated to become a major tourist zone. From now on, JL's only job would be counting her money. Jun Haeon then excused himself to take a call, but it was actually a setup. He had secretly invited Seon-hee to the dinner, pretending the invite came from Gail. He even pre-selected the perfect wine and dishes to suit their tastes. Seeing such a thoughtful and sophisticated side of him, Gail couldn't help but feel her heart flutter. Later that night, Jun Hyun snuck into Chairman Kang's private garage. Being back in a high-performance car gave him a rush he had been craving. After a long, late-night drive to clear his head, he finally pulled over only to find Jae-gyong waiting for him in the shadows. She looked him in the eye and dropped a bombshell. "I know exactly who you really are." Jun Haeon's face went pale. Jae-gyong is closing in. She's convinced that Jun Haeon is actually working for Secretary Lee. How else could he know the codes to Chairman Kang's private safes and have the keys to his cars? Not to mention, he's suddenly dressed up in designer clothes and living it up in a luxury hotel. But Jun Haeon isn't going down without a fight. Even when Jae-gyong's goons threaten to beat the truth out of him, he sticks to his cover story. He pulls a total Oscar-winning performance, claiming he actually hates Chairman Kang for ruining his career. He tells her the supercar is just a rental he got with his settlement money. Then, he goes for the ultimate bluff. He tells her everything he's wearing, even the watch, is a cheap knockoff. To prove it, he takes off his high-end watch, smashes it into the ground, and stomps on it with everything he has got, acting like a man obsessed with vanity and spite. It works. Jae-gyong actually buys the act and leaves, but she's not stupid. She puts him under 24/7 surveillance to see if he has any secret links to Lee. As soon as they leave, Jun Hyun looks at his shattered, multi-$100,000 watch and almost cries. But the night isn't over. Before he can catch his breath, Secretary Lee Kim ambushes him. Lee thinks Jun Haeon is just a common thief who stole Kang's staff of power, his fortune, and even his secret shelter access cards. Desperate, Jun Haeon drops a bombshell. He swears he's not a thief because he is the real Chairman Kang. He says taking his own stuff isn't stealing. When Lee scoffs, Jun Haeon starts dropping deep-cut memories that only the real Kang would know. He brings up the time Lee's mother passed away, and Lee missed the funeral because he was stuck at a delayed airport. He reminds him of their trip to Dubai when they got caught in a sandstorm so bad their eyes, noses, and mouths were literally filled with grit. Lee is shaken to his core. These stories weren't even in Kang's private diaries. To seal the deal, Jun Hyun even challenges Lee to an arm wrestling match to prove his strength. Lee, A man who only believes in cold, hard facts is left completely mind-blown, unable to process the idea of a soul swap. Jun Hyun leaves Lee in a state of total confusion and heads home. On the way, he realizes he's still being followed. To keep up the charade for Jae-gyung's spies, he can't go back to the hotel. He's forced to return to his old, dilapidated attic room. Standing in front of that dump, he regrets ever telling Jae-gyung he still lived there. The place smells like it hasn't seen a human in years. To make matters worse, a nurse calls with an update. His grandmother has finished her checkup. Her dementia isn't too severe, but she is constantly crying out for him. The nurse suggests he take her home to care for her, but Jun Hyun flat out refuses. He can barely take care of himself right now, let alone a senile old woman. He feels like the attic is beneath his chairman-level dignity, but with spies everywhere, he has to play the part of a lowly intern. His night of misery continues when he tries to take a shower. The water is so freezing it nearly turns him into a block of ice. He's forced to sleep on a rock-hard floor with a blanket as thin as a wing. He tosses and turns, thinking about how his life has gone from riches to rags in the blink of an eye. The next morning, he wakes up with a neck so stiff he can barely move. Meanwhile, over at the Na residence, Chairman Na and his daughter are trashing Jae-sung behind his back. They think he's useless and lacks any real ambition, but they can't dump him yet. To them, Jae-sung is just a piece of bait they need to hook the entire Choiseong group. Even after losing a staggering 500 billion won, Jae-sung doesn't seem to have a care in the world, which only makes the Na family more determined to use him as their pawn. Chairman Na was tearing into Jae-sung, calling him pathetic for letting his sister, Jae-gyung, trample all over him without even putting up a fight. But Jae-sung's wife stepped in, defending her husband with everything she had. Jae-sung was so moved by her loyalty that he felt like he owed her his life. Seeing this, Chairman Na put on a show of reluctantly compromising. He told Jae-sung to pull himself together and go after the massive GF project, promising that his own conglomerate would provide the capital to help Jae-sung snatch the prize. Meanwhile, Jae-gyung was at the gym, blowing off steam with some boxing. Her secretary dropped a report. The investigation into Jun Hyun was complete. It confirmed he was living in a literal attic and had a grandmother with dementia in the hospital. According to the report, his luxury cars and designer clothes were all fakes or rentals. Jae-gyung finally let her guard down. She stopped seeing Jun Hyun as a threat. She immediately ordered her secretary to set up a meeting with a bank director. She had her sights set on the GF project and wanted to secure every cent of funding before her brother could move. Jeol, who was tailing her sister, immediately leaked the news to Jun Hyun. Because Jun Hyun was being watched like a hawk, he couldn't make a move himself. He sent his trusted manager, Park, on a top-secret mission. He gave Park the legendary staff and sent him into Chairman Kang's secret vault with orders to withdraw 5 billion won, about $7 million. When Park walked into that hidden room, his jaw hit the floor. Seeing Kang's massive hoard of wealth, he realized his poverty-stricken imagination couldn't even fathom this kind of money. Park was fast and efficient, which made Jun Hyun very happy. He even tipped Park with a fat stack of cash, making the man ecstatic. However, when the conversation turned to Jun Hyun's appearance, he got salty and jokingly threatened to take the bonus back. Park was left spinning from his boss's 180-degree mood swings. Over at a cafe, Jae-gyung met with the bank director to drain the GF project's capital for herself. Jae-sung caught wind of this and realized he had to hit the gas. He gathered the company shareholders and cut a deal. If he were put in charge of the GF project, his father-in-law's group would flood the project with cash. Back at the office, Jun Hyun was roasting Jeol for her tacky outfit, telling her she didn't look anything like a chairman's daughter. Jeol was both embarrassed and annoyed, but they had bigger fish to fry. They both skipped work for an important mission. To cover their tracks from the spies and co-workers, Park used body pillows with their faces on them to make it look like they were still at their desks. But then, Secretary Lee showed up demanding to see Jun Hyun. Park was sweating bullets, trying to cover one lie with 10 more. Lee walked over to Jun Hyun's desk and grabbed a piece of his handwriting. He compared it to Chairman Kang's writing, and his eyes nearly popped out. It was a 100% identical match. Now, Lee was absolutely certain. The chairman's soul really was inside Jun Hyun's body. The mission took them to the family mansion because Jeol wanted to change clothes. Jun Hyun used the bathroom as an excuse to sneak inside. Really, the soul of Kang just wanted to see his wife, Seon-hee. But when he walked in, he saw the twins' bratty kids bullying Seon-hee. They were ordering her around with ridiculous demands, and even told her she was just a housekeeper who had no right to eat with them or teach them manners. Jun Hyun's blood started boiling. He decided to give the kids a taste of their own medicine. He put on a performance, pretending to be a powerful shaman who could see invisible ghosts. He started exposing their darkest secrets, from the time they broke an expensive crystal vase to the time they stole Chairman Kang's golden turtle statue. Having them totally cornered, the kids became as obedient as puppies. He leaned in and gave them a terrifying ultimatum. If they ever called Seon-hee a housekeeper again, he would deal with them personally. Thanks to the shamanic lesson Jun Haeyeon gave the twins' kids, they finally learned some manners. They actually thanked Seon-hee for everything she does for the family. It was a small but satisfying victory. Later that day, Gul had to play the part of a high-flying businesswoman for their next move. She spent forever picking out the perfect outfit, but when she finally stepped out in a short skirt and high heels, Jun Hyun was not happy. He hated seeing her dressed so provocatively, thinking it was just eye candy for other men. Jun Hyun was subconsciously acting like a protective father looking out for his daughter, but Jewel completely misread the room. She actually thought he was flirting with her. Meanwhile, Jae-gyung's plan to sabotage the GF project was working perfectly. She manipulated the banks to cut off their funding, leaving the project owner in total chaos. With no money to pay the workers, a massive strike broke out. To make matters worse, the Choisung Group pulled out of their partnership, pushing the project to the brink of collapse. Jae-gyung, being the vulture she is, swooped in to scavenge. She offered a measly 80 billion won to buy the whole thing out. Of course, the owner wasn't stupid enough to accept such a pathetic lowball offer. Then Jae-sung showed up, playing the good guy. He revealed that it was his sister who cut their funding and offered 100 billion won as if he were doing them a favor. Predictably, the owner saw right through both of them and literally released the dogs to chase them off his property. Jun Hyun had already done his homework on the project. He knew they were 100 billion won in the red. He approached the owner, claiming his boss, Gul, wanted to collaborate and invited him to the mansion for a secret meeting. Gaol put on a masterclass performance as a wealthy heiress. She offered to inject 5 billion won in cash to jumpstart the project in exchange for 30% equity. Their plan? Turn the project around, make it look like a gold mine, and then flip it for a staggering 300 billion won. The owner thought it sounded like a fantasy, but Jun Haeyeon and Gaol told him to relax. They would handle the world, he just had to handle the work. Their strategy was to turn the GF project into the ultimate bait to make the twins fight over it. That night, Secretary Lee came to find Jun Hyun. He stood in the pouring rain, soaked to the bone like a drowned rat. He was heartbroken for the chairman, feeling guilty for not being able to protect him from his own children's betrayal. Jun Hyun comforted him, telling him it was okay and that the worst was over. They shared a long, emotional moment in the rain, which definitely got some weird looks from passersby. Afterward, Jun Haeyeon and Lee grabbed a bite to eat. Jun Haeyeon vowed that his upcoming plans would make those ungrateful children pay a heavy price. But even as they talked, Jun Haeyeon was being watched. Every move he made until he clocked out at 10 p.m. was reported back to Jae-gyung by her private detectives. The next day, Jae-gyung tried to call the project owner, but he ghosted her. She stormed over to his office to settle the score, only to find Jae-sung already there, drinking with the guy. The siblings stared each other down with pure hatred. When it comes to profit, family means nothing to them. Jae-gyung started to panic when she saw the project was actually back in business. The bidding war between the twins began, with both of them hiking up their offers to buy the project rights. Jun Hyun warned the owner not to cave in yet. He told him to keep the site running 24/7. He wanted it to look incredibly busy. He even ordered the owner to put out a help wanted ad for 100 more workers to create the illusion that the project was booming with lucrative contracts. To seal the trap, Jun Haeyeon intentionally met with Jae-sung that night, warning him that Jae-gyung was going all in to buy the GF project. Just as he planned, the private detectives caught the entire secret meeting on camera. The next morning, Jae-gyung gathered her inner circle and dropped a bombshell. She was prepared to spend 150 billion won to buy the GF project. Her shareholders were horrified, calling the move way too risky, but she wouldn't listen to a word of it. She refused to let herself lose to her idiot younger brother. Meanwhile, Jae-sung was playing his own hand. He went straight to his father-in-law, Chairman Na, begging for a massive loan. He wanted to hit the table with 200 billion won. At first, Chairman Na wasn't having it until Jae-sung offered up all the real estate in his name as collateral. Only then did the old man cave. Later that afternoon, while Jae-gyung was crunching the numbers, the project owner called her with a tip. He told her that Jae-sung was offering 200 billion for the project. He basically gave her an ultimatum: match the price or the deal goes to Jae-sung. Jae-gyung went into a total panic. She ordered her subordinates to pull funding from every other ongoing project and liquidate her personal assets. She was officially going all in for a war against her brother. The twins were tearing each other apart. completely unaware that they had walked right into a trap meticulously set by their own father. The auction the next day was a bloodbath. The twins kept driving the price up, desperate to win at any cost. In the end, Jae-sung, backed by the massive wealth of his in-laws, easily won the bid. Jae-gyong was fuming, accusing him of playing dirty, but Jae-sung just mocked her, saying that if she wanted to beat him, she should wait until her next life and try to marry someone rich who could back her up. Jae-gyong snapped back, accusing him of becoming a puppet for the Taeha group. "Have you already forgotten everything father taught us?" she yelled. But later that night, as she sat moping in her office, Jun Hyun showed up. He told her he could help her get the project back, but he had one condition: she had to apologize for having him followed. Backed into a corner and desperate to win, the iron-willed Jae-gyong actually bowed her head and apologized. Jeol couldn't believe her eyes. Even someone as stubborn as Jae-gyong had been tamed by Jun Hyun. Jun Hyun then took Jae-gyong to meet the project owner. When she saw the contract required her to give up 30% equity, she initially refused. But the owner played her perfectly, threatening to give the opportunity back to Jae-sung. Driven by her obsessive need to one-up her brother, Jae-gyong signed the contract anyway. Mission accomplished. Jae-gyong was so thrilled she offered Jun Hyun a hero's reward. He asked for 1% of the Choiseon Group's shares. She promised that once she was officially the chairman, she would give him the chemical company to run. That night, Jae-sung's wife came home to find him drinking his life away. She was disgusted by her useless husband who only knew how to party. She berated him for not using dirty tricks to handle his sister. Jae-sung argued that Jae-gyong had no weaknesses to exploit, but then, he remembered something. He recalled the time Jae-gyong actually tried to kill their father. He realized he could use that secret to bury her for good. The next day, Jae-gyong visited the chairman's office, sitting in his chair to get a taste of what it feels like to rule the empire. Jun Hyun and Park were heading to the airport for a business trip abroad. Jae-gyong smugly told them that by the time they returned, she would likely be the official chairman. The shareholders were already kissing her feet, praising her for inheriting her father's razor-sharp vision. She was at the absolute peak of her life. But then, a director dropped a reality check. The succession wasn't official yet. Why? Because Chairman Kang had never left a will naming her as his heir. Jae-gyong might be acting like the new boss, but her throne is shaky. Even though she has the board's support as acting president, everyone knows that the moment Chairman Kang wakes up, her authority vanishes into thin air. While Jae-gyong is riding high on the success of the GF project, Jae-sung's faction is panicking. Jae-sung himself has gone MIA, refusing to show his face at the office to reassure his people. Instead, his wife, Eun-se, steps into the spotlight. She walks in and demands everyone call her the executive director from now on. Behind closed doors, Jae-sung spills the darkest secret of the family to her. He confesses that Jae-gyong tried to poison their father to make him sleep forever, and when that failed, she used a pillow to smother him until he suffered brain death. Jae-sung admits that he was so overwhelmed and pressured by his sister that he ended up becoming an accomplice in the attempted murder of his own father. Eun-se, cold and calculating, tells him not to worry. She warns him to keep his mouth shut and never let a soul know he was involved. She realizes they need to launch a counterattack immediately. If they stay passive, Jae-gyong won't hesitate to throw Jae-sung under the bus the second things get heated. While the shareholders doubt Eun-se's abilities, she's already planning to use the Taeha Group's influence like an octopus, slowly infiltrating and absorbing the Choiseon Group from the inside out. Meanwhile, Jun Hyun, Jeol, and Park arrive at a hotel abroad to check in. They quickly realize that the clumsy Park only booked one room for the three of them. To make matters worse, the hotel is fully booked. Jeol suggests they just suck it up and share the room, but Jun Hyun is not having it. The thought of sleeping in a cramped space and listening to Park's thunderous snoring is a nightmare for him. Remember, he's a billionaire chairman at heart. He's not about to live like a peasant. He pulls out his black card and casually books the presidential suite. While there, they spot Chairman Na. Jun Hyun reveals that this trip isn't on a vacation. He's actually targeting a massive lithium mine project that Chairman Na has been working on for over a year. Yulia Island is famous for high-quality lithium, and Jun Hyun has a master plan: use his shell company to snatch the mining rights, then merge it with the Choiseon Group. This move would essentially turn his shell company into a major shareholder of the conglomerate. Jeol is skeptical they're foreigners. So how can they legally mine there? Jun Hyun tells her he's already one step ahead. He had Secretary Lee buy a local mining firm in advance. Now, they just need to find a way to bribe the local governor, who holds the keys to the mining rights. As Park follows Jun Hyun's orders like a loyal soldier, Jeol starts getting jealous of their bond. When she pushes for answers, she's stunned to find out that Park thinks Jun Hyun is Chairman Kang's secret illegitimate son. Back at headquarters, Secretary Lee calls Jun Hyun to give him the tea on the office drama. Jae-gyung is acting like a peacock, even ordering the chairman's office to be renovated so she can move in. Jun Hyun just laughs it off, saying, "Let her dance for now. The higher they climb, the harder they fall." Meanwhile, Jae-sung is faking an illness to dodge his responsibilities. Inside Jun Hyun's head, the soul of Kang is wondering what kind of karma he racked up in a past life to end up with two kids who are such a debt to society. The war between the two factions is heating up. Jae-gyung is trying to buy the employees' loyalty with better benefits, while Eun-se is successfully carving out her own power base within the company. Jae-gyung is playing for keeps. She isn't about to let anyone touch her slice of the massive corporate pie. But her sister-in-law, Yoon-se, isn't exactly a saint either. She's more than ready to go to war. Meanwhile, Jun Hyun's night was a total disaster. He was trying to get some work done, but Park was a one-man wrecking crew. Between snoring like a chainsaw and, well, biological warfare, farting, the room became uninhabitable. Jun Hyun eventually had to grab his pillows and flee to the sofa just to breathe. While he was out there, he caught Jewel sneaking some late-night ramen. At first, Jun Hyun acted like a health nut, lecturing her on how many calories were in those noodles. But the second he heard the kimchi was homemade by Seon-hee, he did a total 180. He devoured the entire bowl and half the jar of kimchi, like he was starving, even trying to claim the rest of the jar as his own. Back at the mansion, Seon-hee was weirded out by how well-behaved the kids had been lately. She thought Jewel must have disciplined them, but it turned out to be Jun Hyun's doing. He had scared them into submission by lying and saying Chairman Kang's ghost was literally watching their every move. Jae-gyung then put on a kind act, giving Seon-hee permission to visit Kang at the hospital. But in this family, kindness is always a trap. Sure enough, she immediately started sweet-talking Seon-hee into supporting her bid for chairman at the next shareholders meeting. However, the real drama was happening behind closed doors. Jae-gyung's husband confronted her, asking point-blank if she had really tried to smother Kang with a pillow. Jae-gyung went full gaslighter, manipulating him into believing she did everything for the family and their children's future. Suddenly, they heard a loud noise outside. The husband checked, but saw no one and figured it was just the wind. He had no idea that Seon-hee was standing right outside the door, having heard every single terrifying detail of their murderous secret. Over at the hospital, Yoon-se was busy playing the damsel in distress for Jae-sung. She complained about how much Jae-gyung was bullying her at the office, making Jae-sung feel so guilty that he immediately agreed to let her sell off the real estate assets under his trading company. Jae-sung told her they only needed to worry about Jae-gyung. They still saw Jewel as nothing more than a harmless party girl who only cared about traveling and spending money. Little did they know, the next morning, Park woke up and threw a tantrum because Jun Hyun and Goal had secretly eaten ramen without him. But they didn't have time for his feelings. It was time to scout the lithium mine. The trio posed as tourists and a guide, snapping photos and gathering intel on the landscape. When they saw Secretary Choi leaving in a hurry, Jun Hyun sent Park to tail him. The trail led straight to the governor's mansion, where Chairman Na was waiting. The Tae-ha group and the governor were clearly best buddies. They were all smiles and handshakes as Chairman Na promised a staggering 300 billion won bribe to the governor in exchange for the mining rights. Jun Hyun and Jewel then headed to the hotel to intercept Na's team. In the elevator, they had to play the part of a lovey-dovey couple to eavesdrop on the villains without getting caught. It worked like a charm. They picked up a boatload of info, and even figured out which room the group was in. They decided to pull a classic switcheroo. They intercepted a waiter bringing drinks to the room, and Jun Hyun flashed a thick stack of cash to get him to play along. While the waiter was distracted by the money, Jewel swiftly swapped out a bottle of wine. As the waiter entered the room, Jun Hyun pulled a pro move, blocking the door with his foot just long enough to swipe their room keycard. Seon-hee arrives early and catches Jae-gyung's husband red-handed, trying to inject Chairman Kang with a sedative. With the evidence right in front of her, the guy folds like a lawn chair and confesses everything. Seon-hee is shaking with rage. She can believe her husband and his own children could be this cold-blooded, literally trying to murder their father. But Seon-hee is playing the long game. She calls Jae-gyung and tells her she's on board to support her bid for the chairman's seat. Jae-gyung is all sweetness and light over the phone. But the second she hangs up, she orders her assistant to prepare the paperwork to exile Seon-hee and Gel the moment she takes power. She's also planning to kick Secretary Lee to the curb and install Jun Hyun as her new right-hand man, believing he's the only one competent enough to trust. Meanwhile, Jae-sung's wife, Eun-se, is proving she is the real brains of that couple. She's been re-examining all the witnesses from previous scandals and connecting the dots. Jun Hyun is the mastermind behind Jae-gyung's success. When she finds out he's currently abroad with Goal, her internal alarm goes off. Unlike her thick-headed husband, Yoon-se is sharp as a tack, and senses a major conspiracy brewing between the intern and the youngest daughter. Back in Bolivia, Jun Hyun and Gil are playing secret agents, eavesdropping on Chairman Na's room. Park pops up out of nowhere, nearly giving them both a heart attack. Once the coast is clear, they sneak inside to find Chairman Na's team of geological engineers passed out cold. Jun Hyun had spiked their wine with a special brew. While a 4% concentration might sound low, it's a total knockout for anyone who doesn't have a god-tier alcohol tolerance like him. They scramble to find evidence and hit the jackpot. Documents proving the lithium density is actually 5% more than double what Chairman Na reported to the governor. For over a year, Na has been cooking the books and pocketing the difference. The trio decides to crash the governor's celebration that night to expose the fraud. They suit up and arrive in style. Jun Hyun is rocking a black suit with trillionaire CEO vibes. Park looks like a gaudy, new money uncle. And Gil steals the show in a powerful yet mysterious black gown. Just as the governor is about to sign the contract with Na, Park accidentally lunges out and spills red wine all over the document. Before the governor can lose his temper, Gil drops the bombshell documents showing how Chairman Na has been robbing him blind. Chairman Na is absolutely livid, but before he can even speak, the governor kicks him out. He's disgusted that Na had the nerve to play him for a fool. Gil tries to strike while the iron is hot, offering a new contract with a bigger cut for the governor and a promise to hire local Bolivian workers. It's a win-win. He gets rich and solves the local unemployment crisis. But the governor is once bitten, twice shy. After being burned by Na, he's lost all faith in Koreans and orders them to leave. Facing a total dead end, Jewel whispers a Hail Mary plan to Jun Hyun. Let's offer to give the mining company to the governor himself just to get him back to the negotiating table. While they're refighting for their lives abroad, Jae Ji-young is back home, winning and dining with the company's core members. She's selling them a dream of financial freedom and massive promotions. Jae-young is playing the corporate game like a pro. She's poaching elite talent and handling the media perfectly. Honestly, compared to her, Jae-sung doesn't even belong in the same league. But then Eun-se shows up to rain on her parade. Eun-se isn't some innocent housewife. She's a cold-blooded vixen who married Jae-sung for power, not love. She looks Jae-young dead in the eye and drops a bombshell. She knows all about the attempted murder of Chairman Kang. The blackmail is simple. If Jae-young doesn't hand over the chemical company and funnel some serious gifts to the Taeha group, Eun-se will leak the story of the assassination attempt. Backed into a corner, Jae-young has no choice but to cave. Meanwhile, over in Bolivia, the deal is officially inked. Jun Hyun's shell company and the governor of Yulia have signed a massive mining contract. Jewel is beaming with pride, claiming she is the MVP of this mission. Watching her, Jun Hyun realizes she's truly transformed. The ugly duckling of the family has officially become a proud white swan. Back at the hotel, Chairman Na is losing his mind. He checked the security footage and saw Jun Hyun's crew drugging his engineers and swiping the files. He storms their presidential suite with his goons, but the trio has already vanished. The only thing Jun Hyun left behind was a mocking letter and a packet of heartburn medicine, a total mic drop moment that left Na fuming. On the flight back to Korea, the soul of Kang inside Jun Hyun feels a wave of nostalgia as he tucks the blanket around a sleeping ghoul. It feels like the old days when life was simple and he was just a father to his youngest daughter. But the peace is shattered the moment they land. Seon-hee calls them, sobbing hysterically. She's absolutely devastated after learning that Jae-young tried to kill her husband. She blames herself for not being careful enough to protect him. Then comes the day of the showdown, the shareholders meeting to name the new chairman. Eun-se tells Jae-sung to relax, claiming she's handled everything and that he should get ready to take the throne. Even Seon-hee shows up for the vote. Jae-young takes the stage, trashing her brother's incompetence and claiming only she can save the empire her father built. Then, the voting begins. To everyone's shock, especially Jae-sung's his own wife, Eun-se is the first one to lead the charge against the expected outcome. Jae-sung is frozen, realizing he's been betrayed by his dear wife. Jae-young tries to use Seon-hee as a pawn, asking her to speak in favor of her leadership. But Seon-hee delivers the ultimate blow. She publicly opposes Jae-young. She announces that she has hired top international specialists to treat Kang, and that he'll be awake and healthy before they know it. Jae-young tries to fight back, but she just comes off as petty and unfilial. The room turns cold. Not a single person raises their hand for her. Just when things couldn't get any more intense, Secretary Lee makes a move. He reveals that outside forces, targeting the Taeha group, have been trying to manipulate the company's value. He announces the creation of a strategic inspection team to act as a shield for the Shoseon group. Jae-sung, desperate to spite his sister, is the first to support it, and the rest of the board quickly follows suit. Finally, Secretary Lee introduces the power trio of the new inspection team: Park, Jun-Haeon, and Joel. The room is in total shock at their appearance. But the biggest shockwave of all? When Gul steps forward and officially introduces herself to the world as the chairman's youngest daughter. The sister, Dae-sung, remembered her unhappy past with Madam Ko. When her own mother had been dead for just over a year, Chairman Kang brought Madam Ko home, who was already very pregnant, and said that from now on, they would be a family. God only knows how much she hated her father and that woman. She felt everything was orchestrated by the housekeeper Ko, and her father was just a stupid goat who got trapped. Then, when the youngest daughter Gun was born, Chairman Kang treated the child like the apple of his eye. Dae-sung felt her status in the family was being shaken. That child, to compete for her father's love and the massive family fortune, always bared her teeth and claws at her stepmother and the newborn brother. Back then, Madam Ko promised that she and her child would never fight for assets with the twins, which made Dae-sung settle down a bit. But now, she was breaking that old promise at the very last minute. Dae-sung felt betrayed. She thought Madam Ko made many promises but broke just as many. Madam Ko said she was only doing everything she could to protect her daughter. It was actually Dae-sung who planned to use Madam Ko and Gun and then throw them away like squeezed lemons. After she sat in the chairman's chair, the stepmother and stepdaughter kept bickering like that. Madam Ko was too disappointed in Dae-sung. Even though this daughter wasn't hers, she had raised her with her own hands. She always pitied the twins for lacking a mother's love, so she gave them many times more love. She could strictly hit Gyun whenever she made a mistake, but she never had the heart to scold the twins once, even when they walked all over her. Spoiling them created ungrateful people. Until today, she finally learned this lesson. It was time for her to fight back. Madam Ko declared that until Chairman Kang woke up, she would discipline the twins with her life. Gun arrived and took her mother away before Dae-sung could rush over and choke her. Madam Ko, who was just scolding her stepchildren aggressively, now went totally limp like a soaked rice paper. Dae-sung vowed to make Madam Ko pay by ruining Gun. She wanted her to know that if the mother eats sweets, the daughter will get the toothache. Director Park, knowing Hwang was not the chairman's youngest son, flipped his attitude faster than an ex-boyfriend. He shifted all his attention to Gun and totally ignored Hwang. Gun went from being a spare tire to the main tire and hasn't had time to adjust yet. The inspection team was set up in a fairly spacious office, but it wasn't prestigious enough for their status. Jiyeon said they had to do their best in the upcoming project. They absolutely had to win the trust of the Choi-sung employees in this first battle. This would surely be a huge challenge for the three of them. Director Park kept being annoyed with Hwang. He even wanted to strangle this guy for the sin of tricking him before. Gun stepped up to speak for Hwang. She said she was the one who ordered Hwang to lie about being Chairman Kang's youngest son to pull Director Park to their side. Meanwhile, in Ki-ong's office, Eun-se was sweet-talking and comforting him. She claimed she was cornered by the sister, Dae-sung, so she was forced to take that side. Ki-ong felt so bad for his wife. Seeing her shed a few crocodile tears made his heart feel like it was breaking into pieces. After soothing Ki-ong, Eun-se quickly left. As she moved, she carelessly called her father to report the results, completely unaware that not far away, the brother, Ki-ong, got suspicious and started eavesdropping secretly. He began to remember the first day he brought Eun-se to meet Chairman Kang to ask for a job in the corporation. Even though she had cried and begged to work before, when the chairman asked for her opinion, she totally denied it. At that time, Ki-ong was so lovesick that he couldn't see how fake Eun-se really was, but that level of trickery could never fool Chairman Kang. He had warned his son many times to be careful of this devious wife, but Ki-ong never listened. In the afternoon, the sister, Dae-sung, went to the hospital to visit Chairman Kang. When her husband entered the room and saw her suddenly appear, he was startled. That split second of guilt caught Dae-sung's sharp eyes. She pressured her husband to see if he was doing anything shady behind her back. The husband tried to keep his cool and act as normal as possible. He said he was someone who loved and supported her unconditionally. Even if the rest of the world turned its back on her, he would always be the one who never changed. Dae-sung was fooled by these sugar-coated words. The husband wasn't happy seeing her bury herself in work all day and neglect her husband and kids. He secretly vowed to get everything back on track by kicking his wife out of the race and taking the chairman's seat himself. The inspection trio hid under a table to spy on their colleagues. They accidentally heard some intense trash talking about themselves. Then they found out they were being isolated by their colleagues. From the office to the cafeteria, it reached a peak when information about Gun being a former party queen was leaked. Everywhere in the company, you could see people gathering in groups to gossip about her. They said she didn't deserve to be Chairman Kang's daughter, and even said her mother was a mistress, which is why she turned out to be a defective daughter. Gun seemed indifferent to these rumors, because while studying in the US, she was bullied many times. From mental abuse to physical violence, she had experienced it all. Back then, Gun wasn't strong enough to fight back. When she was bullied, she could only run and cry to her mother. Chairman Kang at that time thought his daughter was too weak. He said she had to learn to protect herself instead of always relying on others like that. His words were the harshest, but Chairman Kang was the father who loved his child the most. Gun always thought it was because she was too stubborn, and those bullies just got bored and let her go. She had no idea that Chairman Kang himself flew to America to threaten them. He even warned that if anyone dared to touch his precious girl, he would definitely make their whole family pay. Even so, Hwang Jun didn't want to tell Gun that story. Chairman Kang always just wanted to be a father who loved his child silently. Gun misunderstood and thought Hwang Jun had feelings for her, even thinking he was jealous because she smiled at another man. For Hwang Jun, it was just fatherly love for a daughter. But the more Gun spent time with Hwang Jun, the more she developed a crush on him. It's true that a girl's perfect boyfriend type is molded exactly after her own father. After that, Eun-se aggressively walked over and started mocking the inspection trio. Even her director ally from the same faction stepped forward and started getting physical with Gun. Eun-se didn't keep her lapdog in check, but even let him run wild. Eun-se told Hwang Jun that she knew he and Gun went on a trip to Yuliva Island, and even spread a rumor that the two of them were a couple. Right after that, Secretary Lee told Hwang Jun that they had started manipulating the price of lithium ore. Now both Taeha Group and Daeseong's side are scrambling to find a lithium supply after the price was jacked up to the sky. They investigated the shell company named Smile Investment belonging to Gun. But the Prime Minister of Yuliva is a man of his word, so he always kept the information confidential for them. Both Taeha and Daesong sent people urgently to Yuliva, determined not to let the other side beat them to the punch in this deal. Ki-young called to ask where Eun-se was, even though she was at her dad's place. Eun-se lied and said she was at the Choi Sung Group. Eun-se didn't know that Ki-young was outside watching her every move. On this side, Hwang Jun went to Secretary Lee's place and was served pu-erh tea. While he was chilling and drinking tea, the youngest, Gun, arrived, forcing the two of them to swap positions. Hwang Jun quickly drank the tea to cover his embarrassment, but he accidentally burned his mouth. Secretary Lee hurried to take care of him. Gun was very surprised because their relationship was progressing so fast. In the evening, Madame Ko started to assert her authority at the dinner table. She tore up the menu created by the families of the two twins. She said that from today on, this house would be under her full control. If anyone has an opinion or is unhappy, they can shut up and get out immediately. The stepchildren looked at her like an enemy, as if they were just waiting to jump in and tear her apart. The son-in-law, wanting to strengthen his wife's trust, was the first to speak out in protest. It turns out that earlier, Hwang Jun had found the best doctor to treat Chairman Kang. Now the son-in-law and Madame Ko were just putting on an act to get the twins' attention. Dae-seong's family said they would eat separately from now on and then walked away together. Ki-young's family, seeing the fun was over, also planned to leave. Madame Ko reminded Eun-se that since she married into the Kang family, she should be fully devoted to her husband's house instead of running off and sneakily taking things back to her biological parents' home all the time. Eun-se forgot her phone on the dining table, and Ki-young picked it up for her. The seeds of suspicion had been sown and were slowly sprouting in his heart. Ki-young tried many passwords, but none of them were right. Later, Eun-se came to find the phone, and Ki-young humbly begged her. He asked her to put him and their son above even her own father. Eun-se said not to worry. She would live her life fully for the family, but she didn't say which family. In the evening, the inspection trio went to an eatery, and Director Park kept complaining that Hwang Jun's taste in food was salty like an old man's. Then Secretary Lee also arrived. All four of them planned to have a great meal. Gun excused herself to go outside. She was practicing how to give a gift to Hwang Jun. She's totally falling for this multi-talented guy, Hwang Jun. Hwang Jun was a bit surprised when he received a designer tie as a gift. Jun shyly said that her family had nothing but money, so he should just take it and not feel awkward. Seeing his daughter use the money he worked so hard to earn to hit on guys made Hwang Jun feel pretty depressed. Right then, the caregiver called to say that Hwang Jun's grandma had gone missing. It turned out she saw the news about him getting injured and leaving the team, so she ran off to find him. Hearing the news, Hwang Jun was really worried and rushed off to find the old lady. He turned the whole hospital upside down but couldn't find her anywhere. When he ran back to the attic apartment, he saw his grandma working hard cooking in the kitchen. Grandma heartbrokenly hugged her grandson's leg and cried. She knew just how big Hwang Jun's passion for soccer was. He once said he would become a soccer legend like Messi or Ronaldo, but the dream was snuffed out just because of a sudden accident. Grandma said she would tear the heart and lungs out of the jerk who ran over and broke her grandson's leg. Hwang Jun comforted her, saying he would definitely fix this leg later on. Grandma said she would always be by his side to help massage and do physical therapy so his leg would heal quickly. At first, Hwang Jun didn't want to stay in this dump anymore, but after taking a bite of his grandma's cooking, he did a total 180. If the food is this good, he can handle a little hardship. Jun overheard the conversation between the two of them. She understood the pain that Hwang Jun had gone through. The next morning, the sister, Dae-song, went to the boxing gym again to blow off some steam. The assistant informed her that the investigation into that shell company had yielded results. She immediately called the mastermind, Hwang Jun, wanting to question him about everything. It just so happened that Hwang Jun wanted a face-to-face confrontation, so they set up a meeting. Dae-song aggressively showed up at the meeting spot only to find Gun there. Gun said she was the one behind the shell company and that Dae-song had already handed over 30% of the corporation's shares to her. Gun said if the sister dared to make a scene, she would expose the 300 billion won embezzlement and many other shady dealings. In Dae-song's eyes, Gun was always harmless, but she never expected that one day she would be trapped and swindled out of a huge chunk of shares by her own useless sister. The sister called Hwang Jun to a corner to negotiate, still wanting to use her old ways to manipulate him. Unfortunately for her, Hwang Jun already knew that she and the brother were the ones behind the accident that broke his leg. For the sake of justice and his soccer career, he was determined to get revenge on them. The sister went back to the corporation and wanted to order someone to suppress the news. Rumors about the lithium ore shortage were spreading. But before she could make a move, a surprise shareholders meeting took place. The shareholders were all criticizing the sister, Dae-song, for being incompetent in leading the GF project. Dae-song said she was looking for a lithium supplier with the best possible price. She promised that she wouldn't let the project be interrupted for any reason. Right then, Gun stepped up and said she had already negotiated with Smile Investment. Now, as long as Dae-song agreed, the contract to buy lithium ore would be signed immediately. Gun's professional yet humble attitude made the shareholders very satisfied. Dae-song felt threatened. She was forced to choose between two options, while facing the outrageous demands of that group. But now, Dae-song could only compromise with them. If the GF project was interrupted because the lithium ore supply was cut off, her reputation would be toast. Afterward, Gun broke the good news to her two colleagues at home. The three of them were thrilled. So, they had pocketed an extra 400 billion and 4% of the shares. Hwang Jun was so happy to take down the sister in this first victory. He casually hugged Gun to share the joy, making her completely freeze up. After everything at Choi Sung was settled, the people over at Taeha Group finally caught wind of the news. Chairman Na realized that Gun was the youngest daughter of Chairman Kang. He found it very interesting. For the first time since the chairman's accident, he had found a worthy rival. That evening, Dae-seong was in a daze. Today's failure had left her in a state of psychological shock. She remembered Hwang Jun's threat. He said he would make the two culprits, those siblings, face their karma. Dae-sung stood in front of the chairman's chair, seeing it right before her eyes, yet it felt as distant as the high sky. She vowed that she must get the Choi Sung group at any cost. Just then, Chairman Na called and said he had something important to discuss with her. The two of them met at a fancy restaurant. In a private room, they started to bargain with each other. Chairman Na said he would help Dae-song take care of Gun if she agreed to let Un-se take over the brother's position as the commercial director. But Dae-song's ambition didn't stop there. She wanted Chairman Na to help her get rid of both the brother and her father so she could sit on the chairman's seat with peace of mind. In the next room, the brother, Ki-ong, had heard the entire thing. He was shocked at being dragged from one drama to another, being betrayed and cast aside by his wife, his father-in-law, and his sister made Ki-ong mentally unstable. Originally, this guy's brain was only as big as a grape, but at this moment, it was crushed down to the size of a sesame seed. He pretended to be a driver and drove the sister at high speed down the road. The two of them struggled and couldn't reach an agreement, and finally, the car crashed into a utility pole and stopped. The total damage resulted in the brother being arrested for kidnapping his own sister. His sadness was doubled when the police told him he was also being accused of embezzling funds from the Choi Sung group, even though he's all brawn and no brains. At this moment, the brother, Ki-ong, realized he had been set up. Ki-ong wanted to charge at the sister and pick a fight, but the police held him back. The sister, Dae-song, acted like a victim, while Ki-ong's aggressive behavior just made everyone dislike him even more. Dae-song went over using the excuse of hugging her brother, But she was actually taking the chance to mock him some more. She kept digging into her brother's pain. Actually, Dae-sung had always been tracking Ki-young's entire schedule and had planned to trap him long ago. Should we blame Ki-young for being too stupid or blame Dae-sung for being too heartless? Now Ki-young is being framed for kidnapping and planning to kill someone to cover his tracks. His whole world collapsed when he realized he was facing a massive prison sentence. Ki-young wouldn't accept the truth. The more he resisted, the heavier the charges became. Unlike Ki-young, Dae-sung was very calm. She kept a cool head while everything around her was going crazy. Hwang Jun went over and yelled at Ki-young to get him to calm down. In that moment, Ki-young felt like he was seeing his old father. He apologized to his dad for being so useless and losing to Dae-sung once again. Hwang Jun was shocked by the scene of his children fighting each other. He clutched his head in pain. He had a feeling that his body in the hospital was starting to show signs of progress. Dae-sung acted like a victim in the interrogation room. She said that after finding out Ki-young had embezzled funds, she tried her best to stop him but failed. The inspector asked her if there was any evidence to prove Ki-young's dirty deeds. Oh wow, that question played right into her hands. Before that, Dae-sung had met with Director Do and bribed him. She promised to make Director Do the vice president if he helped her recover the data on Ki-young's embezzlement. Previously, to protect his kids, Chairman Kang had Director Do destroy all the evidence, so now it was easy for him to recover part of that data. With clear witnesses and evidence, Ki-young couldn't talk his way out of it no matter what. He was quickly taken to the police station. Hwang Jun questioned Dae-sung on why she had to be so ruthless, but she said they all forced her hand. Ki-young's arrest caused his entire trading company to collapse as well. The police took away all related documents, and Eun-si was also taken in for investigation as the suspect's wife. Hwang Jun started feeling unwell. His heart was racing, and he had a massive headache. Checking the surveillance cameras at the hospital, Chairman Kang's body was showing signs of waking up. Madam Ko was always at the hospital taking care of her husband. Ever since she found out the stepchildren wanted to harm her husband, she didn't dare let Chairman Kang out of her sight. The son-in-law, Jin-ho, told Madam Ko that the chairman's condition was very promising and he would definitely wake up soon. Then Dae-sung arrived at the hospital, followed by a pack of hungry journalists. The husband, Jin-ho, was totally helpless because his wife was acting way too much. She wouldn't listen to him, and he didn't dare to cross her, so he just let her push him around and walk all over him. Dae-sung told her husband that he should take their son to the US to hide for a while. The husband was pushed aside by Dae-sung from taking care of Chairman Kang. It seems like she doesn't trust the man she sleeps next to anymore. Right then, Chairman Na angrily called to chew her out because she dared to throw his daughter in jail. Dae-sung basically said he was dead wrong. It turns out she had previously refused to cooperate with Chairman Na, because Dae-sung knew her own abilities were big enough to take on the world without leaning on anyone. Madam Ko saw her stepdaughter becoming more and more outrageous, so she ordered the son-in-law, Jin-ho, to speed up the process of helping Chairman Kang wake up soon. In the evening, Secretary Lee caught Director Do red-handed at the parking lot. Since he still holds the temporary management power of the group, he has enough influence to make this guy terrified. Secretary Lee pressured Director Do to recover the documents about Dae-sung's embezzlement from the chemical company. But to do that, they needed the documents from Chairman Kang's stash. This wasn't a big deal. With just one phone call to Hwang Jun, they had those important documents in their hands. Under Secretary Lee's supervision, Director Do obediently worked on recovering the data, but right after that, the recovery was interrupted by a newly installed security code. The brother's henchmen swarmed in and caught them both. Director Do flipped the script and blamed Secretary Lee, accusing him of faking evidence to manipulate the group. Then, Secretary Lee was detained indefinitely until the investigation ended. The next day, Dae-sung held a public shareholders meeting to expose Secretary Lee's alleged crime. After that, she offered a new solution to save the group by cutting 20% of the trading company's staff. If Choi-sung is a giant tree, the trading company is the damaged part, and Ki-young and his gang are the pests destroying it. Dae-sung proposed firing Ki-young and all his competent members, then letting Hwang Jun's inspection team restructure the trading company. The inspection trio was handed this hot potato, and none of them wanted to take it. But Secretary Lee is in Dae-sung's hands. If they didn't agree, she would immediately involve the police to investigate him. In the end, Hwang Jun had no choice but to take on this mission impossible. Will the three of them be able to revive a trading company that is already rotten to the core? After that, Dae-sung went to Secretary Lee's jail cell and declared she would remove everyone standing in her way to the Choi-sung group chairman's chair. Secretary Lee was very disappointed that Dae-sung would do anything just to reach her goal. Surely Chairman Kang would be very sad and regretful for not properly raising this ungrateful child. The fire is spreading wider and wider. Eun-se is at risk of being in prison for a long time. Chairman Na is so worried about his daughter that his hair is turning gray. He quickly called, wanting to negotiate with the sister, Dae-sung. She forced the old man to apologize for daring to meddle in her family corporation's business. For the sake of his precious daughter, Chairman Na had no choice but to swallow his pride and apologize. But Dae-sung didn't stop there. She forced Chairman Na to cough up the Choi-sung shares that he had secretly snatched from his dim-witted son-in-law. She even threatened that if Chairman Na didn't obediently hand them over, she would make this cleansing fire spread to his own Taeha group as well. Back with the inspection trio, Director Park was very upset with Hwang Jun for deciding to take on the restructuring of the trading company. But now they had no other choice, because they couldn't abandon Secretary Lee. Currently, everyone in the corporation is avoiding the trio, fearing they might get dragged into the mess. Director Park rang a bell to clear his mind. Before starting the battle, the trading company employees all acted pathetic so they wouldn't get fired. One person said his mother just had a baby, and he had several mouths to feed. Another said his father was suffering from infertility and needed money for treatment. One woman even cried, saying her boyfriend just cheated on her, and she desperately needed this job to get back at him. The most extreme one was the last guy who threatened to commit suicide if he got fired. In the end, he was so unlucky that he got stuck in the door. Director Park was in a tough spot, not knowing who to fire and who to keep. May the Lotus Flower see this and help those poor, lost souls. Hwang Jun said only children have to make choices. Since he is a rebellious old man, he decided to just fire every single one of them. Gun saw this and couldn't sit still. She went to meet Dae-seong to renegotiate but was mocked by her instead. Dae-sung told her that if she had no talent, she should just get out of the Choi-sung group. Stop staying here and living like a parasite, she said. Gun felt defeated by Dae-sung and went back in a rage to find Hwang Jun. After that, the two of them had a fiery argument. Gun felt deeply for the employees who were forced to leave. Hwang Jun said he had no other choice. Gun suggested they could sell the 30% of the group they owned to fill the hole for the Brothers trading company. But Hwang Jun said that was just a surface-level solution to the problem. If they didn't fix the root cause, it would keep breaking out like a plague that causes them constant pain. Because of their disagreement, they parted ways in a bad mood. Hwang Jun was bitter about being yelled at by his daughter. Who knows what kind of bad karma Chairman Kang created in his past life to end up with such children. The son is dumb as a rock. The older daughter is ready to take out her own dad for power, and the youngest daughter is as stubborn as a mule. Hwang Jun discovered that besides the employees forced to quit, a few elite employees were resigning voluntarily too. Could this be a trick by Dae-sung to steal talent right under his nose? In the evening, Director Park and Gyun went out for BBQ and talked trash about Hwang Jun. They treated him like a piece of grilled meat and chewed him up. On the other side, after Chairman Na coughed up what he had swallowed from Choi-sung, his daughter was released. Dae-seong went to talk to the father and daughter. Gyun saw Dae-seong driving Eun-se. These two used to be like sworn enemies. For some reason, they had compromised and joined hands. The next morning, Director Park took Gun to Hwang Jun's house. Director Park is truly a god of diplomacy, a master of smoothing over relationships. When they heard that Hwang Jun's grandma had finished cooking, both of them shamelessly stayed for a free meal. Looking at the table full of food made all three of them salivate like crazy. Hwang Jun began to suspect the old lady had faked her memory loss before just to torture him. Gyun saw him being rude to his grandma and punched him. Grandma was clearly heartbroken to see her precious grandson being pushed around by a girl. Gun gave Grandma a smartwatch to make it easy to contact her grandson, which made the old lady very happy. Grandma is so easy to win over. Elderly people are simple, they are happy as long as their children love them. When the three of them got to the company, Manager Lai, one of the people who voluntarily quit, walked up aggressively. It turns out Dae-seong had secretly made sure the severance pay for those people was pitifully small. Manager Lai had dedicated 30 years to the corporation, but receiving a severance package that was basically peanuts felt like an insult. He was also completely disappointed with the Choi-sung group. This place had become a total disaster after Chairman Kang was no longer at the helm. Hwang Jun wouldn't give up. He thought he needed to do something. Then, the inspection trio used all their connections to gather information. They blended into the employees' gossip circles to spy. After finding out about the meeting of the voluntary resignees at a cafe behind the company, Director Park cosplayed as a detective to sneak around and gather evidence. Then, they asked the janitor to help collect trash from the paper shredder. All three of them worked overtime all night to find clues about the people who quit. Only then did they realize those employees were all truly talented people who had been on the hydrogen project for many years. Now Dae-seong wants to sell that project to the Taeha Group, so she's also transferring the veteran employees over there. Hwang Jun said they needed to stop those veteran employees, but when they got to the hydrogen department, the place was already a ghost town. Meanwhile, the sister, Dae-song, had already signed the contract to transfer the hydro project to Taeha Group. Chairman Na promised to give her a generous share of the profits. Chairman Na is a wicked snake. He uses Dae-song to get what he wants while quietly planning to backstab her whenever he gets the chance. Hwang Jun went to find Dae-song and questioned her on why she used the trading company's restructuring to distract everyone, then took the chance to sell off the hydro project to the group. Dae-song said she did it for revenge against Chairman Kang. Once again, this precious daughter pinned the blame on her father. Dae-song always hated Chairman Kang because she thought he favored the brother more than her. She had targeted this hydro project first, but Chairman Kang used his power to give it to the brother, so now Dae-song is just taking back what she lost. Dae-song remembered the first time she learned to rebel, which was when she used a knife to cut the strings on the brother's instrument. She was scared and thought Chairman Kang would get angry and give her a piece of his mind, but he didn't do that. Dae-seong thought that when her power was big enough, even her dad wouldn't dare touch her. But she didn't know that at the time, Chairman Kang didn't scold her because he was afraid of hurting his daughter's self-esteem. He never imagined that 1 minute of being soft and spoiling her would create such an ungrateful person as Dae-seong is now. Hwang Jun blamed himself for letting Choi Sung Group fall into this current situation. Just then, Gun announced she had found the place where Secretary Lee was being held. It turned out 2 cleaning ladies accidentally found out where Secretary Lee was being detained while they were working. Gun and Director Park disguised themselves as cleaning staff. Gyun was responsible for distracting the guards, while Director Park was responsible for rescuing Secretary Lee. The 2 of them worked together perfectly, making it impossible for the guard to react in time. Hwang Jun rushed to the spot just as all 3 had safely escaped outside. Hwang Jun felt heartbroken seeing his old friend. He looked worn out after being held for so many days. Secretary Lee comforted him, saying he was doing just fine. The rescue by Gun and Director Park earlier was very exciting, just like an action movie. Hwang Jun said he had thought of a way to save the trading company, which was to pin all the blame on Chairman Kang and use 30% of the group's shares to cover the brother's debt. Neither Secretary Lee, Gun, nor Director Park agreed with that. They thought that smearing Chairman Kang to solve the problem was a despicable act. Gyun wouldn't allow anyone to stomp on her father's reputation like that. Only now did Hwang Jun realize Gyun's love for her father. Perhaps the youngest daughter is exactly like Chairman Kang. Both father and daughter are the type of people who love silently and aren't good at showing their feelings. In the evening, Gun told Madame Ko about it. Contrary to their disapproving attitude, Madame Ko actually quite agreed with Hwang Jun's solution. She was the one who knew Chairman Kang best. To protect the group, Chairman Kang was willing to sacrifice himself. The sister, Dae-seong, walked over with a furious face. She knew exactly that Gun was the one who rescued Secretary Lee. Dae-seong warned that she wouldn't leave them alone. Gun was forced to stand between 2 choices: her father's honor and reputation on one side, and the solution to the crisis they were facing on the other. The next day, Dae-song excitedly held the shareholders' meeting, announcing she would appoint Un-se to take over as the commercial director. Right then, the brother, Ki-young, came back better than ever. Gyun and Hwang Jun also appeared right after that. She played Secretary Lee's press conference on the screen, announcing that Chairman Kang was the one who embezzled the trading company's funds. Before that, Gun had gone to the jail to meet Ki-young. After a bit of a martial arts exchange, Ki-young was obediently subdued by his youngest sister. He promised to work obediently under her from now on. Back to the present, since Chairman Kang took all the blame, Ki-young was released on bail and returned to Choi Sung Group as if they had never been apart. Dae-song was extremely bitter after being played so hard. That night, Jun, Director Park, and Hwang Jun went out for drinks. Jun was still very mad at Hwang Jun. Even though he apologized, she didn't accept it at all. Director Park stepped in to try and fix things for this troubled pair. Right at that time, Dae-song went to the hospital and poisoned Chairman Kang. After doing the deed, this cold-blooded woman even casually took a nap on her way away from the scene. Hwang Jun's grandma saw her grandson's soul coming back to see her one last time. The doctors found out and gave Chairman Kang emergency care, but it was way too late. Ki-young rushed over, grabbed Dae-song by the neck, and asked why she could bring herself to kill her own biological father. Right after that, the tragic news that Chairman Kang of Choi Sung Group had passed away was widely announced in the media. His death was a huge loss for his family and friends. Meanwhile, Hwang Jun was rushed to the ER in critical condition. Only Director Park was there, staying by his side the whole time. At that time, Gun had to go to the hospital to see her father's face one last time. Chairman Kang's sudden death was a huge shock to Madam Ko and the youngest daughter. Gun was numb with emotion, and she screamed for her father in vain. If anyone has ever lost their most loved one, they would understand how she feels right now. Their hearts and souls seemed to be completely drained. Right after the doctors saved Hwang Jun from death's door, he rushed straight to the hospital. He saw Jin Ho pushing Chairman Kang's body toward the morgue and tried to stop him. But now, with his current status, he had no right to interfere in their family's business. He could only stand there and watch as the body was pushed away before his eyes. Ki-ong ran to find Dae-sung to question her. "Why did you kill our own biological father?" Contrary to his panicked attitude, Dae-sung seemed very cold. She said she was only acting in self-defense. The Choi-sung group is the result of what their parents built together. Even if she died, she wouldn't allow it to fall into the hands of Madam Ko and that half-sister, Gun. Dae-sung said that in a critical time like this, as biological siblings, they should be protecting each other. Once again, Ki-ong was psychologically manipulated by her. It seems Dae-sung is very good at leading public opinion and winning people over. Honestly, Ki-ong didn't stand a chance against her. The press got the news and swarmed the hospital like flies on honey. They questioned Jin Ho about Chairman Kang's death. Clearly, his health condition had been showing signs of progress. Why did he die so suddenly like that? Dae-seong also showed up, playing the victim and defending her husband. Looking at Dae-seong now, everyone would think she was a devoted daughter, but Hwang Jun knew it was all a fake act. Dae-sung was just putting on a show to create a harmless facade for herself. Her tears were all calculated and planned. Not a single tear was wasted or unnecessary. Right then, Hwang Jun suddenly got a call from his grandma. He rushed off to find her. After searching everywhere, Hwang Jun found his grandma fainted on the street. He hurried over and used his body to shield her. In the middle of that freezing, snowy night, the two of them just hugged each other and cried. Hwang Jun felt very regretful, thinking that he was the one who brought this harm upon them. But Grandma didn't blame him at all. Up until this moment, she still worried about Hwang Jun's every meal and sleep, fearing he would have an empty stomach in the middle of the cold winter. Hwang Jun took his grandma home and soothed her to sleep. Never before had he been so patient and cared for someone so carefully and thoughtfully. Maybe this was his way of making amends through his actions. Chairman Kang couldn't raise his children right, and he had to pay the price by having ungrateful children. But he didn't expect things to go this far. The sister killed Chairman Kang before Hwang Jun and him could swap bodies back. Chairman Kang looked around the house and felt like he was in a hallucination. He saw with his own eyes the scene of Hwang Jun and his grandma taking care of each other. Since he was little, Hwang Jun had an undying passion for soccer. He vowed that he would become a famous soccer player later on. Grandma was always the one supporting his passion for the field from behind, and also the one silently helping him take care of his leg injuries after each day of practice. Now Chairman Kang finally understood why Hwang Jun previously wrote that he wanted the Choi-sung group on the blank check. A soccer career to Hwang Jun was just as important as the Choi-sung group was to Chairman Kang. Chairman Kang's funeral was held at a church. The stepwife and the youngest daughter were always staying by his coffin. Then the sister and brother also arrived. Madam Ko couldn't help herself and rushed over to question her why she killed her husband. But the sister still played tough. She claimed she was being framed by Madam Ko. Gun said the camera caught the scene. The sister was the last person to appear in Chairman Kang's hospital room. Hearing that, the sister felt a bit guilty. Madam Ko immediately said she would have an autopsy done on her husband to find out the cause of death. If Chairman Kang was harmed, she would definitely not let the culprit off easy. The sister slapped Gun and threatened that if the mother and daughter didn't settle down, she would make them pay a price twice as high. Madam Ko and Gun couldn't do anything to the sister because she had bodyguards following her everywhere for protection now. The sister was quite concerned about the camera saving evidence, so she sent people to Gun's house to destroy the proof. The brother looked at the circus at his father's funeral and shook his head in disappointment. Maybe this is the happiness of a funeral, Korean version. The brother and his wife also showed their true colors to each other. Now he clearly knew that his wife and father-in-law were always behind his back selling him out. He even found out that they betrayed him and joined the sister's side. These two just kept arguing loudly at the funeral. Gun kicked them both out of there immediately. Who knows what bad karma the chairman created in his past life that even in death he can't rest in peace. The next morning, the board of directors meeting took place again. Everyone started buzzing about who exactly was the one who embezzled the 300 billion slush fund. The sister boldly declared that she was completely clean. She accepted being investigated. She said if she were the one who embezzled that money, she would proactively resign from being the chairman of the group. She talked big, but the sister was always sending her henchmen to clean up the remaining clues. The assistant told her that her husband, Prof Min, had resigned from the hospital. Daesung returned home and found her nest messy with stuff scattered everywhere. Her husband said that from now on, he would step back and be a solid support so she could focus on managing the group. Actually, he was just too disappointed in himself. Because his skills weren't good enough to save Chairman Kang, he didn't want to continue practicing medicine to save lives anymore. In the evening, Huang Jun went to the church to visit Chairman Kang. The moment he faced the deceased's coffin, he felt like sadness was weighing heavily on his shoulders. In that moment, he felt like he was becoming himself again. Chairman Kang felt very regretful for the series of mistakes he had caused. Initially, he just wanted to fix his children's mistakes, but then everything spiraled out of control. His children were sliding further and further into a pit of sin, and he himself had indirectly killed an innocent man, the real Huang Jun. But now, it was too late for anything. There is no medicine for regret in this world. Chairman Kang wanted to turn those regrets into strength. From now on, he would live Huang Jun's life for him and take care of his grandma. No sooner said than done. The next day, Huang Jun moved his grandma into a $1 million apartment, but the grandma didn't seem to like this strange place. She ran everywhere looking for her grandson, then said she wanted to go home. Unable to resist his grandma's whining, Huang Jun just had to take her to get her hair done at her usual salon. With a new hairdo and her precious grandson by her side, she was happy as a clam. Then grandma led Huang Jun all around the market. She wanted to show off her talented and handsome grandson to the whole world. Huang Jun noticed his grandma liked flowers, so he bought her a bouquet. Then the two of them went out for a nice meal. It didn't stop there. Huang Jun bought a lot of home electronics to deck out the house and make it more convenient. Huang Jun bought health supplements for his grandma, and fearing she'd forget, he even wrote notes on the outside of each one. Grandma had a gut feeling that something was off. Huang Jun was doing everything as if he was getting ready to leave. Then Huang Jun got a call from Jun. When he arrived, he saw her drinking like a fish. When people are drunk, they show their true feelings. Gun sobbed and blamed her father for leaving without saying goodbye. She always craved her father's love, to be held by him and looked at with affection. But maybe that wish will never have a chance to come true again. Because she has lost her father for good, their relationship was totally one-sided. Gyun always tried to reach out, but Chairman Kang was indifferent to her. Gyun once tried to be really strong and talented. She wanted to use that to get her father's attention. But now, all of that has become meaningless. The next day, everyone was gathered at the house. The twins had Chairman Kang cremated without even letting Madame Ko and her daughter know. Today, a lawyer also arrived to announce Chairman Kang's will. Madame Ko and Gun were only given a tiny bit of assets as compensation for her youth and her pension. The entire estate was split among each member of the twins' families. Their children were also given a 1% stake in the corporation. Before Madame Ko and Gun could even process the shock, the police burst in to take her for investigation. They suspected Madame Ko was the one behind the 300 billion won embezzlement. Gun felt completely helpless watching her mother being taken away. She felt like a stranger in her own home. Her own half-siblings were the ones trying to push her into a corner. Madame Ko had nothing left to lose. She wanted to take all the blame to avoid involving her daughter. Now, the two of them are all alone, and she's afraid they're no match for the twins. Gyun discovered that her mother's seal and many documents had been stolen. She suspected that Daesung was behind this. It was to fake evidence and set them up. She asked Secretary Lee to help her investigate. Gyun tried calling Huang Jun, but she couldn't get through. She was as nervous as hell, like she was sitting on hot coals. That night, Kyong snuck in to see Gun. He said he swore at Chairman Kang's grave that he would protect her from now on. The brother wanted his youngest sister to put on an act with him later. Outwardly, they would act like they weren't on good terms, but behind the scenes, they would work together against the oldest sister. The next day was Daesung's grand inauguration. Finally, she got her wish to sit in the chairman's chair. To save her mother from jail, Gun had no choice but to transfer 15% of the Smile Company shares to her. Daesung hit Gun's weak spot. She is a devoted daughter who can't just abandon her mother. Daesung was now settled in the Choi Sung Group chairman's chair. She gave a powerful speech saying she would take the corporation to a new level, and then she introduced her right-hand man, Huang Jun, which surprised everyone. The person most shocked was probably Gun. She couldn't believe Huang Jun would betray her at a time like this. It turned out that earlier, Huang Jun had suggested that Daesung use Madame Ko to force Gun to hand over the 15% Smile shares in exchange for a chance to work for her. Daesung introduced Huang Jun as her trump card. Gun rushed over to question him about why he was switching sides right at this moment. Huang Jun said that Gun no longer had any use to him. Now he needed to find a more promising landing spot. and Daesung was the perfect choice. After that, Goon and Director Park were sent to a department in the middle of nowhere. You could tell just by looking that the place had been abandoned for a long time. Goon and Director Park had to clean their own office by themselves. They acted as janitors while also doing the job of pest control workers. Meanwhile, Hwang Jun was led everywhere by Daesung. He had the chance to get involved in big projects and meet many potential partners. That afternoon, Chairman Na unexpectedly visited Daesung. He even brought an old pine tree as a gift. The implication was to wish Daesung to always stay strong and achieve a lot in her career. But Hwang Jun immediately called out those empty, cliché wishes. Chairman Na recognized Hwang Jun right away. He was still very bitter about the time Hwang Jun stole the lithium project in Uliva not too long ago. According to the previous agreement, Chairman Na would help Daesung become chairman, and in return, she had to hand over the hydro project to Taeha Group. But now that she got what she wanted, Daesung started to turn on him. Chairman Na was furious but couldn't do anything. He grit his teeth and threatened that he would definitely drag Daesung back to her old, lowly life. Hwang Jun felt more relieved when he heard that Madam Ko had been released. He called Secretary Lee and gave him a suitcase full of cash. That amount of money was enough for the two of them to live comfortably in the US for a few years. Secretary Lee said that Madam Ko and her daughter definitely wouldn't want to leave South Korea. But Hwang Jun said they had to go to the US to hide for safety. Currently, Daesung still suspects that the two of them have the surveillance footage from the hospital room on the night Chairman Kang died. Since Daesung could ruthlessly kill her own biological father, there was no way she would spare the two of them. Madam Ko and Gun were out of money and homeless, so they had to stay temporarily in a public bathhouse. Hwang Jun came and quietly watched them from a distance. He felt heartbroken seeing Madam Ko looking so pale and sickly. He wanted to cover Madam Ko with a blanket, but Gyun accidentally misunderstood him as a pervert. He quickly ran away. Luckily, Jun and Madam Ko didn't recognize him at all. Because her finances weren't great, Jun rented a room right next to Hwang Jun's house. From now on, she can stay close to watch him, and also mooch free meals from grandma every day. It was truly killing two birds with one stone. The days of being noble are over. Now Madam Ko and her daughter switched to being as thick-skinned as possible. The two of them sweet-talked and praised grandma's cooking endlessly, making the old lady as happy as a clam. Finally, thanks to their silver tongues, the two of them earned a long-term free meal pass at the home of Hwang Jun and his grandma. After that, Gun kept clinging to Hwang Jun, which really grossed him out. But she was like a hungry leech. The more he pushed her away, the tighter she stuck. But Hwang Jun isn't a pushover. He started his counterattack right away. He threw the three outcasts Der Park, Gun, and Sek Kim into the warehouse department. There, they were worked like dogs. They faced a mountain of work that was incredibly long and stressful. But Gun was fired up. The harder it got, the stronger she became. She seemed to be turning her hate into power. These little struggles weren't enough to knock her down. It didn't stop there. Hwang Jun started using work to get personal revenge by sending Gun to a bank to help out. There, she had to talk to thousands of customers to get them to open bank cards. After working at 100% capacity for 2 days, Gun's legs felt like they were going to fall off from walking and standing all day long. Hwang Jun was going crazy because Gun was so stubborn. He just wanted her to taste some hardship so she would give up. If she and her mom didn't hurry up and hide in the US, he was afraid Daesung wouldn't hold back much longer. Daesung was always worried that Gun and her mom had proof of her killing Chairman Kang. Sek Lai asked, "If we have the surveillance footage, why not use it to take Daesung down?" Hwang Jun said that wasn't enough proof because she's too sneaky. If they aren't 100% sure they'll win, they can't risk it. Chairman Kang's death is the living proof of that. Daesung's people targeted the hospital security guard. They bribed him to delete the hospital's surveillance footage. That guy took the money and quit his job at the hospital. Now, he's hiding out in a cheap internet cafe. Hwang Jun showed up and caught his attention. Then, he gave him some cash, and they quickly swapped contact info. Hwang Jun negotiated with the security guard and agreed on a price of 500 million to buy that footage. The deal was set to happen at night in a parking lot. Hwang Jun arrived early. He accidentally discovered that Chairman Na's people were also there. It turns out Chairman Na also holds Daesung's weak spot. He knows she killed her father and wants to use this secret to control her. Hwang Jun suspects Chairman Na is behind everything. Meanwhile, the sister pointed the finger at the brother, but she probably guessed right because it turns out the brother and Gun were pulling the strings behind the scenes. The two of them were having an intense discussion in the office when the sister burst in, which terrified them. Gun quickly hid under the desk. It turns out these two siblings used their connections to get a newspaper to report on Chairman Kang's suspicious death. They were pretty sloppy about it since they used the exact newspaper that the brother was closest to. Luckily, someone called right then, so the sister didn't have the heart to expose their lie anymore. That's because she's caught up in an even bigger conspiracy now. Hwang Jun arrived just as everything had calmed down. He breathed a sigh of relief when he saw that Gun hadn't been caught red-handed by the sister. He reminded Gun to stop acting like she's always right. This is about people's lives, not some kid's game for her to try and show off. How many times can someone keep taking risks like that in one lifetime? The sister was dragged to an abandoned warehouse by Chairman Na. There, she got a total visual shock from a bunch of live fish. The fishy smell hitting her face wasn't as gross as Chairman Na's face. It turns out he has a voice recording in his hands. In it, the sister admits she wanted to use a pillow to smother Chairman Kang. The sister said that was old news. She claimed Chairman Kang's death had nothing to do with her this time. After realizing there was a camera in the room, she left right away. Maybe Chairman Na took that chance to kill him and frame her for it. Now the sister knows she's playing with fire. It's true that if you play with fire, you're gonna get burned. Chairman Na had the security guard killed right in front of her, making her face turn white with fear. He threatened that if she didn't make him happy, he would expose the whole truth. The sister started to feel stuck between a rock and a hard place. Compared to the wicked Chairman Na, she was still way too green. In the end, the sister chose to call Hwang Jun for help. The two of them met at the church where Chairman Kang's memorial was. Standing in front of her father's portrait, the sister was questioned by Hwang Jun. She tried to deny killing Chairman Kang, but the candles in the memorial hall seemed to call her out on everything. Even now, the sister still won't admit to killing Chairman Kang. Hwang Jun believed her because he knew Chairman Na might be pulling the strings, but the sister still thought Chairman Kang deserved to die. In her eyes, he was a terrible father who always wanted to make his kids miserable. Hwang Jun was totally speechless with this ungrateful daughter. The most important thing right now is to calm her down and stabilize her. Hwang Jun said he would help her fight Chairman Na if she trusted him enough to tell him everything in detail. The next morning, Chairman Na boldly walked into the Choi Sung group like he owned the place. He even acted like it was totally normal to sit right in Dae Song's chairman chair. He ordered her to hand over the hydro project to the Taeha group. Chairman Na wants to win without any effort. He wants $1 million project for free, but he's just dreaming. Even though she was cornered and at a disadvantage, Dae Song didn't want to give him any benefits at all. Chairman Na threatened that if she didn't cooperate, he would make her life a living hell. This Chairman Na is a pro at mind games and threatening people. But this time, he might have finally met his match with Hwang Jun. Meanwhile, the extra siblings, Gun and Ki-young, also started to sniff out the truth. They knew right away that Chairman Na had some dirt on Dae Seong, which is why he could walk all over her like that. The two of them planned to let those two fight it out to the death while they sat back and waited to swoop in for the win. That evening, Madam Ko went to see her son-in-law, Jin Ho. She even thoughtfully made some food for the kids. She said she understood and didn't blame him because he had done his best to save Chairman Kang. Madam Ko just wanted to know the cause of her husband's death, but the son-in-law refused. Maybe he was hiding something? Madam Ko noticed a medical kit in his trunk. Didn't he quit being a doctor? Why is he still carrying medical tools in his trunk? After that, she secretly followed him, but the son-in-law was very careful. He easily ditched Madam Ko in no time. Meanwhile, the extra siblings started making their move. They knew Chairman Na liked ornamental plants, so Ki-young used his name to bring Gun to Na's private house. On the outside, Gun pretended to be a professional gardener, but in reality, they were both searching for evidence of Chairman Na's crimes. Just as they found the evidence, the maid warned them that Chairman Na was back, so they hauled ass out of there. Talk about a close call. The two of them hid in the car and watched Chairman Na's place. They were shocked to see Hwang Jun show up there. He was even quite respectful when greeting Chairman Na. Hwang Jun really knows how to play both sides. He's everywhere you look. Hwang Jun wanted to join Chairman Na's side, but since Na is a suspicious plotter, he wouldn't trust Hwang Jun easily. In the end, Hwang Jun had to show a long scar on his leg to win the trust of Chairman Na and his family. He said the older sister was the one who caused the accident that hurt his leg, so he can't go back to the field anymore. Because of that, he hates her a lot. He knows the enemy of his enemy is a friend, so he wants to work with Chairman Na. To prove he's legit, Hwang Jun promised to help him get the hydro project without spending a single cent. This made Chairman Na and his daughter super happy. After leaving, Hwang Jun noticed Chairman Na's daughter had a hurt leg and was limping. He started using his godlike brain to figure things out. He logically connected all the past events. According to the nurse he hired, the person who killed Chairman Kang might have left the hospital through the emergency exit in the stairwell. Now, the painful leg of this daughter-in-law named Unsei is the biggest proof. Before, Unsay and the older sister were always at each other's throats. But lately, she's been stealing her style and copying her vibes. Turns out she wanted to pose as the older sister, then kill Chairman Kang and pin the blame on her. Hwang Jun felt a bit better. At least Chairman Kang didn't die at the hands of his own biological kids. In the evening, Madam Ko and the brother sat together. She never thought she'd see the day. The stepmother-stepson relationship was actually peaceful like that. Now the brother has turned over a new leaf. He's no longer sinking or sliding down that swamp of sin anymore. Madam Ko was really glad Goon and the brother found evidence from Chairman Na's place. But she thought there had to be a mole inside Choi Sung Group who was linking up with Taeha Group. The brother almost blurted out that the person was Hwang Jun. Luckily, Goon was quick and stopped him. Hwang Jun came home and saw his grandma eating the cakes Goon brought. He knew right away that nothing in this world is free except for leaves and bird poop. Sure enough, Goon used the chance to come inside and spy on him. She even went through Hwang Jun's trash, wanting to find evidence in his old papers. Madam Ko saw her daughter busy picking through trash and got the point right away. She wouldn't just sit back and watch her kid suffer. So the mother and daughter teamed up. They kept bugging Hwang Jun, making him feel totally helpless. The next day, they both stuck to Hwang Jun, wanting to take pictures of the important files in his hands. Hwang Jun was sharp. He was always on guard against them everywhere, so the mother and daughter couldn't get what they wanted. In the morning, Gun went to work feeling tired and down, and she started complaining again that Chairman Kang was such a cold person. Secretary Lee was really upset hearing that. He told Gun about all the stuff Chairman Kang did for her in the past. He had secretly flown to the US just to help his daughter deal with the bullies. He always silently protected her like a quiet father. His love wasn't flashy or show-offy at all, but it low-key held a huge and endless amount of affection. That night, Madam Ko said she overheard that Hwang Jun was going to the hydro factory. Turns out he wanted to go there to steal the core value of the project. Before that, Hwang Jun had promised to help Chairman Na get this project for $0, so now he had to risk it all to go steal it. With the help of Na's secretary, Hwang Jun easily broke inside. He started using a USB to back up the data. Right then, his head felt like it was about to explode. Secretary Lee called to say that Gun had arrived at the factory, which made Hwang Jun even more shocked. Gun arrived and grilled Hwang Jun on why he was teaming up with Taeha to mess up the Choi Sung Group. He angrily yelled at her to stay out of his business and told her to go home because the place was way too dangerous. Na's secretary made a move on Gun. He was so strong that neither Hwang Jun nor Director Park were in his league. Hwang Jun held Gun while his head was a total mess and ran like crazy to find help. Director Park quickly called the police to report the crime. Meanwhile, at a secret spot, Jin Ho and Kyong were up to something big. A huge secret was hidden here, which was that Chairman Kang isn't actually dead. Music. It turns out both of them secretly hid him here and were quietly treating him. Inside, Chairman Kang's body was the soul of the real Hwang Jun. He is trapped inside there and screaming in vain. Rewinding time a bit to the fateful night, Unsay snuck into the hospital to log out the chairman. Just as the heart monitor went beep beep, the son-in-law doctor rushed into the room. Finding a bottle of sleeping pills in the trash, the doctor was totally shocked because he thought his wife was murdering her own father. Even though his mind was a mess, with a doctor's conscience, he gave it his all to bring his father-in-law back from the dead. Then he spread the news that the chairman had passed away and hid him to handle things quietly. Right when he was moving the body, Kyong aggressively charged in to physically assault his brother-in-law because he thought he had harmed their father. After realizing they were on the same side, the two of them teamed up to direct a perfect faking death play, swapping the chairman with an unknown body and sneaking him to a house deep in the forest for protection. Back to the present, the real Chairman Kang is lying in the forest and has to endure super strong nerve-stimulating injections. The painful signal transferred directly to his soul living in Hwang Jun's body, making him hurt like hell. After the shock passed, he hurriedly carried Bang Gui and ran for his life to find someone to save them. As soon as she opened her eyes, Bang Gui acted like a brat, complaining about him shouting and making her deaf. Seeing his daughter safe, the father in Hwang Jun's body was moved to tears and hugged her tight. The problem was, Bang Gui didn't know it was her dad, so she thought her crush was flirting with her, making her face turn red and her heart race. When everything was done, ambulances and fire trucks arrived in a crowd. Just after getting bandaged, the youngest daughter pulled Hwang Jun out to interrogate him, threatening to tell Daesung or use Unsay's secret files to wipe out both sides if he didn't tell the truth. Cornered, the chairman had to scold her, asking if she was crazy and if she knew how sneaky old man Na was. Bang Gui wasn't a pushover either, questioning why a total stranger like him would risk his life over and over to save her, and said she should handle her family matters herself. At this point, Chairman Kang had to confess he was afraid that if something happened to her, the mother at home would cry her heart out, and he was afraid that a young girl like her would bring trouble upon herself by seeking revenge. The bottom line is, the real culprit who harmed the chairman and framed Dae-sung was none other than Un-se. Hearing the shocking news, Bang-gui cried like a river because she pitied her poor father who was used his whole life. She insisted that Hwang-jun step aside so she could take the lead to get revenge herself, just so her father in heaven would know he was loved beyond measure. Seeing his daughter pouring her heart out, Chairman Kang used meaningful words to advise her not to let hate stain her hands and to let him carry that dirty work, because he definitely didn't want his precious daughter to be ruined. Hearing that, Bang-gu calmed down and jokingly asked if he was hiding a secret child somewhere, because he understood her feelings so well. Finally, the two of them agreed to cooperate on the condition that they go everywhere together. Just as the deal was sealed, the big boss Chairman Na called to grill Hwang-jun for messing around with the youngest Kang daughter, Bang-gui. Instead of being scared, Chairman Kang went on the offensive, scolding Na's henchmen for doing a crappy job and almost ruining the whole plan, then forced the old man to replace him. Old man Na grumbled and gave him a chance, deciding to check the data to see if his brain or his subordinate's fist was more valuable. At the same time, Secretary Lee texted to report that the original hospital security footage had been successfully recovered. Back to Un-se, she got home and found Bang-gui in her way, so she lost it and tried to floor it to run her over. Luckily, the oldest brother Keong rushed out and stopped her just in time. Un-se got out, mocked them saying the whole family was crazy, and then hopped in her car and took off. Overwhelmed with bitterness, Bang-gui burst into tears and told her brother straight to his face that Un-se was the one who actually killed their father. Keong, who had been blaming his twin sister Dae-seong this whole time, was hit like a bolt from the blue and completely broke down. Remembering his dad's old warning not to trust Un-se, he could only bury his face in his hands and howl in regret for disobeying his father. The next morning, Un-se got chewed out by her dad for packing her bags and heading back to her parents' house without asking. But she was still acting all cocky, convinced that Dae-sung was going to be erased soon anyway. While she was smirking, the board of directors called to tell her she'd been fired. She rushed to the company to make a scene, but all she got was a smirk from Dae-seong, implying that she was the ultimate power and could fire whoever she wanted without needing to consult the underlings. Furious, Un-se called her dad to egg him on to expose everything and ruin Dae-sung, but the old man said no. Losing her mind, she leaked a recording accusing Keong, along with the pillow murder case, attaching photos of Dae-seong leaving the hospital room on the day the chairman died to the TV station. The scandal exploded and rocked the media. Old man Na's blood pressure skyrocketed because his daughter was self-destructing. On top of that, his henchmen ran in to report that the technology files stolen from Hydrogen were completely glitched out. He finally realized he'd been played for a fool. While the public was in an uproar, the duo, including Dae-sung, immediately held a press conference to set a trap. Dae-sung boldly declared that she was being blackmailed by tech-stealing criminals with fake files, and the culprit was the same person who murdered Chairman Kang. To wrap it up, Chairman Kang played the original security footage, clearly showing Dae-sung's back as she left, followed by a woman cosplaying as her sneaking into the room. The public's opinion did a massive 180. Realizing she was on TV, Un-se panicked and blamed her own father for being too slow to clean up the crime scene. Misfortunes never come alone. Old man Na's right-hand man was also hauled off to jail for data theft. With no way out, Old man Na had to crawl to the company to meet Dae-sung and ask for a truce. Seeing Hwang-jun standing there, he was fuming, but he had to swallow his pride and listen to Dae-sung force him to hand over the high-energy company for free, and he had to pay for the expenses out of his own pocket. He tried to play the poverty card, but Chairman Kang immediately slammed a file detailing every single cent of his slush fund onto the table. Deeply shocked, Old man Na asked for a private word, sweating as he asked how he knew. Chairman Kang told me, "If you know what's good for you, fly abroad and get that money back here fast." The next day, Chairman Kang hurried abroad with Un-se to handle some money laundering. He didn't forget to tell Dae-seong to connect with the shell company that used to specialize in this. Dae-sung is street smart too. She said yes, but secretly pulled out a dummy company named Na to act as a shield just to be safe. That evening, Dae-sung went to dinner with her doctor husband. Actually, before that, her assistant searched her husband's house and found a bunch of medicine and documents for waking up people in a vegetative state, so she got suspicious. But the husband was slippery and smooth-talking. He made an excuse that after being a doctor his whole life, he was afraid of being called a talentless trophy husband if he joined the company, so he planned to open a brain and nerve research center to prove his worth. It sounded so touching that Dae-seong felt guilty for suspecting him wrongly, so she totally fell for it and promised to pump in investment money. However, right after leaving his wife, the husband took his medical bag and headed straight to the house in the forest, not knowing his mother-in-law was secretly tailing him. Just as she burst through the door, Madame Ko was stunned to see her husband, whom she thought was long gone, lying there receiving treatment. Knowing he couldn't hide the truth anymore, Keong had to come clean, saying he was afraid that if their dad didn't wake up, his mom would be devastated again, so he had to hide it. Realizing the heart of her oldest son, who used to be a troublemaker but had now turned over a new leaf, Madame Ko was moved to tears. The mother and son hugged each other and sobbed. Meanwhile, back home, Director Park was whispering secret news to Secretary Lee. It turns out that before packing his bags to go abroad, Hwang Jun made a pro move by submitting a mountain of evidence about the slush fund and dirty business papers of Old Man Na to the authorities to have him hauled off. His eagerness to go abroad was actually a fatal move directed by Bang Gui herself. She predicted that if cornered, the old fox Na would definitely throw his daughter under the bus to save his precious Taeha group. Switching over to the west, Eun-se was gritting her teeth so hard her jaw hurt, bitterly signing over 450 billion won for free to Dae-sung under the strict supervision of Chairman Kang. The thing is, the moment the ink was dry, she flipped her attitude faster than a pancake. She immediately called in a group of muscular henchmen to physically assault him to let out her anger, mocking him that sooner or later, he'd be used and thrown away by Dae-seong too. But Chairman Kang didn't even flinch. He just smirked with the implication that he wasn't exactly free enough to go around trusting that woman Dae-song either. Right in the middle of the tension, the door swung open, and Bang Gui walked in with the vibe of a queen. She immediately held up the hot news from Korea, where the face of Chairman Kang's killer had been unblurred, and it was Eun-se. Without saying a word, the youngest daughter pulled out a stack of dollars and threw it straight at the thugs, telling them to take the money and disappear, or did they want to stay and rot in jail with their boss? The Western thugs saw the money and their eyes lit up. They grabbed it and vanished, leaving the boss lady all alone. Panicked, Eun-se screamed, threatening to tell her dad. Bang Gui just laughed mockingly and asked if she was still delusional enough to think her precious father would choose a criminal daughter over the chairman's seat. Sure enough, at the same time in Korea, the older sister Dae-song was scratching her head, wondering why the full HD clip of Eun-se leaked online even though she hadn't pressed the button. Before she could process it, the secretary reported that Old Man Na was sitting right there in the lobby. To save himself, the old man immediately held a press conference to draw a line, announcing he was disowning his daughter, and then bowed his head crying an apology for his bad parenting. But while he was overacting, the police burst in. This time he had no way to deny it because the police held the entire combo of criminal files in their hands. Old Man Na was officially handcuffed and did the perp walk in front of the public. Abroad, watching the scene of her father washing his hands of her on live TV, Eun-se cried her eyes out, bitterly realizing that Bang Gui was spot on. Once the big business was settled, Chairman Kang and Hwang Jun's body and Bang Gui flew back home. Dae-sung was still clueless and didn't understand what was happening, so she called out Hwang Jun's name to make him show up at the company. Chairman Kang gallantly put Bang Gui in a car to get her home safely. But by some bad luck, Old Man Na's remaining henchmen swarmed in, put a bag over his head, and kidnapped him. When he woke up, Chairman Kang saw the old man sitting with his legs crossed, sipping tea and waiting. He was amazed and mocked him, asking if his family lawyer was that good or if the law was just broken for him to get out on bail so fast. Old Man Na laughed loudly, patting his chest proudly because he's the Taeha chairman after all, and then played the victim, complaining that this was the first time he'd been backstabbed so painfully. Unable to stand the lies, the chairman smirked and slapped him with the truth, saying he had just thrown his own daughter under the bus, so he should stop acting. He said that when scum is in your DNA, even putting on luxury brands still leaves you being a lowlife. Old Man Na's blood boiled hearing the insults. But looking straight into the eyes of the young kid in front of him, he suddenly felt a chill down his spine because those sharp, arrogant eyes looked exactly like that Old Man Kang. Seeing that he was suspicious, Chairman Kang laid his cards on the table. Knowing the supernatural truth, Old Man Na's brain went into overload. He went crazy and started beating him up. He screamed in denial, calling him a gold digger hiding behind Bang Gui's skirt just to swallow the whole estate, but his mouth still had to admit that he really liked his guts. After the cursing, he swung his arm and landed a massive punch that knocked Chairman Kang unconscious. As for Dae-seong, tired of waiting for Hwang Jun, she downed some wine and fell asleep before she knew it. While she was half asleep, the phone rang, and the caller was her dad. Scared out of her mind, she didn't dare pick up the phone. But somehow, a video message was sent from that number. When she opened it to watch, she almost peed her pants. It was a clip of her holding a pillow, about to send her biological dad to the other side. But she froze because she spotted a hidden camera. While her limbs were shaking and she was sweating buckets, heavy footsteps echoed in the hallway. The familiar sound of the cane rang through the whole space, coming straight toward her room. The door swung open, and Dae-sung stood frozen on the spot, her teeth chattering, her eyes popping out to see her flesh and blood father walking in majestically. But when she looked closer, everything was just a hallucination. Dae-sung even imagined the scene of Hwang Jun demanding the Choi-sung inheritance check as compensation for the car accident. Meanwhile, that impact accidentally broke the swap spell, and their souls were officially tossed out, each returning to their own home. In the blink of an eye, Chairman Kang woke up on the hospital bed in his familiar 72-year-old self. The first person he saw was his precious son-in-law. He whispered a report that after making a fake death certificate just for show, the chairman suddenly jumped up and wanted to keep breathing. But Chairman Kang wasn't in the mood to celebrate. He didn't care about his recovering wounds and ignored his son's advice to go save Hwang Jun. As for Hwang Jun, he was tied up on a boat and was about to be gotten rid of. Luckily, with his quick moves, he escaped the trap on his own and ran for his life in every direction. In the middle of the road, a car stopped. Hwang Jun thought his life was over, but to his surprise, it was Chairman Kang. Meeting him again, he brought a whole sky of bitterness to complain. "Do you know that because I borrowed your body, I almost met the Grim Reaper a bunch of times? While I was a vegetable, I remembered everything, didn't miss a single detail. Not only that, he also exposed the scandal that the masterminds who caused the accident and ruined his life were the twin troublemakers." Afraid the old man would act like a fierce tiger doesn't eat its own cubs, Hwang Jun got really tough with him. However, after everything, Chairman Kang had his eyes opened. He swallowed his tears and swore to put justice over family, officially shaking hands with him to form the Revenge Alliance. Meanwhile, Old Man Na thought that getting rid of Hwang Jun would wipe his record clean. Too bad for him, Ki-young was one step ahead. Charged with kidnapping and assault, Old Man Na officially went to jail to serve time. Bang Gui heard the news that her dad was alive and went to see him immediately. She cried and blamed herself for harming her father. Chairman Kang hugged his precious daughter and comforted her tearfully, explaining that the name Bang Gui was given because she had a bright smile when she was little, so she shouldn't cry anymore. The scene shifts to the board of directors meeting at Choi-sung Group. There, the villainous Dae-sung was putting on a show, gaslighting the shareholders and painting a massive pipe dream about the hydro project, promising to take over the global battery market to push Choi-sung straight into the top 5 most prestigious corporations. Before that dream could even be half-baked, Hwang Jun kicked the door open to ruin the party. Using all the high IQ he learned from Chairman Kang, he dropped a series of explosive bank statements, like how the dirty money from Choi-sung Chemicals was all funneled into the Siren Shell Fund that she set up herself, and how the mentally weak Ki-young had already turned himself in at the police station to confess everything about the siblings' crimes. While Dae-sung was frantically denying everything and calling him a rumor monger, the boardroom doors swung open again. Chairman Kang suddenly appeared, leaving Dae-sung's inner circle speechless. He looked at his ungrateful daughter and declared, "Game over, sweetie. Put that chairman's chair back in the corner." Right as he finished, the boys in blue swarmed in and gifted Dae-seong a pair of shiny handcuffs on the spot. As the police were escorting Dae-seong to the company courtyard, Unsei, who had nothing left to lose, went berserk and floored her car straight at her, with the motto, "Let's all die together." At the brink of life and death, fatherly love as warm as the sun surged. Chairman Kang didn't think twice and used his old body to push his daughter out of the way, taking the fatal hit himself. Fast forward 2 years, the Kang family has officially stepped back, leaving the playground to the Midas Touch management. Secretary Lee officially became the new chairman of Choi-sung and allowed Bang Yu to reopen her old office so she could build herself back up. As for the villainous Dae-sung, although she survived, after the physical trauma and losing all her power, she logged out of her memories, went crazy, and moved into a mental hospital. Ironically, in that goldfish brain of hers, she only kept one memory left, her husband. For Chairman Kang, luck was on his side. He survived miraculously after the crash and has now laundered himself into a kind old man, using his money to sponsor a youth soccer team. Hwang Jun also said goodbye to the drama-filled office world and stepped back to be the head coach for that very team. The two of them now hang out every afternoon for a couple of beers, talking about life and just chilling. However, Hwang Jun is still hiding something from Chairman Kang. He's secretly dating Bang Gui. When caught in broad daylight, Hwang Jun tried to sneak away. To his surprise, Chairman Kang rushed over like a flash. Just then, a girl walked by. All three bumped into each other. After the days passed, Hwang Jun looked into the reflection on a door and discovered he had her face. Meanwhile, the girl was bewildered, thinking he was a doppelganger, wondering why he suddenly looked just like her. It turns out the swap spell hit Huangjun once again. Talk about some bad luck for the guy. The movie officially ends here. If you liked it, don't forget to give me a like and subscribe. Bye bye.